And on what we're seeing in these cities and where it is going. We have seen the police force of America cut in half since Joe Biden went into the Oval Office. Since Joe Biden went into the Oval Office to today, we're at about 4.5 years. And in that 4.5 years, new report shows that our police force in America has been cut by half. When you add in those who are, school resource officers doing paperwork in the courts, running the jails, and then those who are just too out of shape to do anything. How many are really left to protect the country? And then we get our military all distracted inside the country dealing with chaos. What's left to protect us outside? There's so many issues to talk about. How do we fix this problem? But where is it also going? And we'll talk to J.J. Carroll about what he thinks is going to happen when it comes to this map and all the riots or whatever, protests, whatever they want to call them, coming up June 14th this Saturday, J.J. Carroll. We're then going to be joined by David Pine. I want to ask David Pine about some of this, as well as ask him about, is this being used as a distraction? Is this being used as a distraction so that our government officials, our police, maybe we have to drag in the National Guard all over the country, and then some of the military? And would this be a great time to spread us thin with Iran and Israel, Ukraine and Russia, and then, voila, China and Taiwan? What does he think's going on here? Let's check in with David Pine. Then let's check in with Mark Mitchell. He's with Rasmussen, the lead pollster at Rasmussen. Where are we headed for the midterms? Who do we see rising for the Republicans or the Democrats? As Gavin Newsom just destroyed his chances when it comes to being the presidential candidate for the Democrats in 2028. But what about Congress? He just went up on Capitol Hill. He walked around and he talked to a lot of people. What did he see? Is he discouraged or is he encouraged? And is MAGA, once President Trump leaves the White House, is MAGA gone? Is it over with because they won't have a leader? Will MAGA accomplish so many of the major goals that the American people who got behind the idea of making America great again wanted? Will all those things be done, accomplished? Or is President Trump not going to be able to get it done? The deep state's just too deep. The rhinos are just too abundant. And the distractions, they're just too many. What does he think is coming? What did he hear when he was up on Capitol Hill last week, walking around and visiting with people? Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen. Big show tonight. Go out right now. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. Let everybody know Worldview Tube is on. And then let them all know you can support us at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Joining me now is former Deputy Patrol Agent in Charge, our very own J.J. Carroll. You can watch him each and every night right here at worldviewtube.com, 5 p.m. Central, 6 Eastern Standard. Well, he, like so many, Michael Yon, who was my guest today on Brannon Howse Radio, Worldview Radio, that's at 1 o'clock Central. Michael Yon, Todd Bensman, J.J. Carroll, goes on and on. And the more warning, this was going to happen. And here we are. America, this may be the beginning of a multi-year internal war. That's what Michael Yon talked about today on, again, my radio show, which is also a TV show, 1 p.m. Central, 2 Eastern each and every day, Monday through Friday. What does J.J. Carroll think? Where does he think it's all headed? Don't forget, we got this map. This map, let's see, where'd it go? Where's the map? Have you guys seen the map? Yeah, you've seen the map. We played it last night. We showed it last night. This is where it's all going to be happening, apparently on Saturday, June 14th, Flag Day. What does J.J. Carroll think of all this? He joins us now. J.J., welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Always good to be with you, Brannon. Yeah, I think it might be a year long, even longer. We talked about this. I wrote about it in my books. I talk about it on my show. When you allow in 30 million, 50 million total illegal aliens into our population, then you do nothing. You just keep emboldening them, giving them money, giving them resources, and then all of a sudden you say, get out. They're not going to get out. And I think this is even bigger than just illegal aliens. I think they're the pawns in this big scheme. This is a war now. We're in a war for America. And you better buckle up. Let's say that map that you saw, that you showed, yeah, I've seen that map. What if 10%, just 10% of those dots actually start burning? Then America's going to burn to the ground. Just 10%. That's amazing. Look at what the anti-American left has done to our country.
You know what's interesting is Usama Dakdok has said that all it would take is a couple gallons of gasoline with a bunch of these Islamists spread all over the country, and look out. And many of us are wondering if that's what happened with the California fires. You know, Pat Boone even put out a video. What if someone just took some material, soaked it in kerosene, and then threw it up in the air and let the winds carry it? They lit it on fire. We do know that, was it Al-Qaeda? Al-Qaeda had a magazine out several years ago called Inspire, where they talked about using fire as a form of terrorism. So when you talk about setting things on fire, I mean, it could be everything from the anarchist to the communist to the Islamist. And we are seeing in California, JJ, the Islamic flags, the keffiyehs, the Mexican flag. We're seeing all of this. And now we got this disgusting president of Mexico. What a disgusting individual. You know, saying that these people, do we have that clip, Logan, where the president of Mexico, Sheinbaum, is that her name?
Yeah, Gloria Sheinbaum.
I had it in my worldview report tonight. Quote, Mexicans living in the United States are good men and women, honest people who went to the United States to seek a better life. Well, why do they have to come to America to seek a better life, Claudia? Because your country is disgusting. I've never been to your country. I would never go to your country. Because when people go to your country, a lot of times they end up dead, raped, right? Dead, raped. And if, God forbid, somebody gets all caught up in the roads in between America and Mexico, it goes in there by mistake and has guns, like I think a military guy did a couple years ago, you guys throw him in the gulag. We got to try to beg you to give our guy back. But you guys just flood our country with all kinds of people. No, the people leave your country, Claudia, because it's a disgusting country, because it's run by people like you. You're disgusting, Claudia. You're disgusting. And the drug cartels run your country. Don't you think that's what's running Mexico? I mean, I think she tries to act like she's somehow separate. Don't you think she's afraid of the drug cartels at the very least? But do you not agree? Mexico is a disgusting country. I feel sorry for a lot of the Mexicans down there. They're victims to a corrupt government, but their government is run largely by drug cartels. It's a narco state. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're right. It is a narco state. The narcos run everything. Absolutely everything. They chop people's heads off.
Yes.
They soup them up, literally melt their bodies into a stew. It's a third world cesspool.
And I want to throw out a disclaimer. I am not talking about the poor Mexicans that are victims of this. I'm talking about their leadership. Because sometimes you have brave people that will rise to the top to be mayor. And what did we see? A guy's head chopped off and put on his white SUV a few months ago.
Yeah.
And what's the government doing about it? What are they doing about it?
Nothing. But then let's look north. What is our government doing about it? What is our government doing about 50 million people that are here illegally? And let's go down even further, Brannon. What in the hell was our leaders in ICE and DHS and Border Patrol doing, sending 50 to 100 ICE agents down into the belly of the beast of Los Angeles with no backup? Who thought of that operational law enforcement plan needs to be fired immediately? This is unbelievable.
Which I guess begs the question, was that a deep state setup? Was that a deep state setup to get this whole thing going?
You know what? It could be, but I'm going to tell you from a personal experience that the people that are running these agencies are incompetent. I worked with some of them. Do you know some of the people in the Border Patrol and Border Patrol agents are down there? Do you know some of the Border Patrol, the leadership in D.C. have never arrested anybody in their whole life? Never arrested anybody. They have no idea what they're doing. And how do I know that? Because just on Friday, you had 25 ICE agents and police officers with their backs against the wall, literally their backs against the wall of a building, as the people like this idiot was throwing rocks at their vehicles. Why did any of these vehicles stop and then pull that guy and grab him and throw his sorry ass in the back of the car and send him to jail? I know he's arrested now, but why did anyone not stop? I don't understand. Those are Border Patrol vehicles, are driven by Border Patrol agents. I do not understand how they're not doing their job. I don't. And I'm talking from a guy that
here's
did
what
this.
I'd like to know. When they saw that was happening, why did they just run over it? Why did one of those cars swerve and literally run over him and take out the threat? Because true or false, was he using deadly force?
Yes, because if he smashes a window, what are you going to do? You're going to jerk the wheel, or that rock goes through the windshield and hits you. Look.
So tell me why one of those guys didn't take the car and just take him out to protect the next car coming, because the guy was using deadly force. Why have we become a nation of wimps? Don't you think that video footage of him being taken out and say, you know what, when you use deadly force against us, we have the right to eliminate the deadly force to protect the individual who's in that truck who's about to get smashed and the person coming behind him. And you do this, we're going to run over you. And if you don't survive, tough. But we have coddled these people. I've never been a cop. So I'm just asking, going from a common sense standpoint, is that too over the top to say that one of those guys could have taken that government car and mowed him down and been justified legally in eliminating potential deadly force?
Yeah, if I'm driving that vehicle and I see him run out in the middle of the road and he's got a giant rock in his hand, he's trying to smash it into my vehicle. Yeah, I have the right. I can justifiably write that down on paper. I felt a threat for my life. How did I feel? Well, I've seen this happen where rocks get crushed through the windshield, hit agents in the head and blind them or kill them. And I'm driving the car. I can't be blinded or I can't be knocked out or I will cause more damage. So yes, but the bigger point is since Ferguson, George Floyd, BLM, defund the police, and the impotent leadership that has risen to the top of our agencies, we no longer know what policy is, what our laws are, what the Constitution allows. We have become feminized. Our society is feminized. Our society of men are effeminate. The police forces are a reflection of society. We don't go get police officers and ICE and Border Patrol agents out on Mars and bring them down to Earth. No, these are our neighbors. These are our brothers and our fathers. But we have been feminized within our community. Why would you expect anything else within your police force? We're a reflection of society. Look at your screen. This is what we're allowing. We're allowing this. And I want to ask Donald Trump a question, and I'm the biggest Donald Trump fan ever. Sir, there's tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people rioting downtown LA, and you're going to send 700 Marines and 2,000 National Guard? Why aren't you sending 20,000 National Guard? Sending all the police, all the Border Patrol, and knock them all down. All of them go to rest. All of them go into vans and buses, and we transport them out of LA and into federal custody. This is insane. Why are we allowing this?
Well, you know what?
We're gutless.
Because we're gutless. You know what we started talking about a while ago was them lighting fires, right? We were asking, hey, did they do this in LA? Was this anarchist, communist, Islamist? Again, Logan, maybe you could look it up, show on the screen. Al-Qaeda had a magazine around 2013 called Inspire. It was calling for using fire as a weapon. And we were asking when the LA fires were going on, is that what they're doing? And then we had all the fires being set all over Israel. And our reporter on the ground in Israel and others were asking, I think this might be terrorism. They're lighting us up on fire all over the place. And you could see the fire starting like they were all over Los Angeles too, right? Well, we just brought that up a while ago. We said, what if these people nationwide start lighting up fires? There you go. What is that, Logan? Oh, that's the Inspire magazine. Yeah. I don't know if that's the publication, the particular one, but in one of them, they call for using fire as a form of terrorism. Now, I didn't know this till right now, but apparently fires were being lit in LA again last night. Look at this. Look at this.
What in the world?
I'm going to turn that off because I don't know if there's going to be swearing or what, but there you go.
I worked all these areas in the Border Patrol. Once that starts to fire, the whole city can go up. There's no water in the fire hydrants. There's no water in the reservoirs. It's And there's no water anywhere. There's no rain in Southern California. So all it takes is that to hit fire, hit that palm tree, and then that palm tree explodes and those embers go everywhere. And then now we're on the whole city's on fire. Look at what we've allowed to happen in our country. Look at this. Look at the response. If there's one thing I want to ask is, how did the people in charge in law enforcement think that this outcome was not going to materialize? I don't understand. Are you that naive? Are you that incompetent? And where's the fire trucks? Where's the National Guard? Where is people going and being arrested? The last I heard, there was 40 or 50 people have been arrested. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is why this is allowed to happen. And then the real question needs to be asked, Brannon, is what is Donald Trump going to do? Is he going to nationalize, federalize, and go after all these people?
Well, he's talking about the Insurrection Act, I guess, today. Insurrection Act.
Well, he has to. Well, okay, let's say that map comes up and 10% of that, what do you have, like 2,000 dots, just 10%? So let's just say 5%. Let's say 100 fires start raging in riots. Well, what are we going to do in a summer of love again? Allow everything to burn down? Or are we going to take control and take our country back? I think this is a pivotal moment in the history of America right now. And Donald Trump has a chance to grab a hold of her future and drive America the right way. I don't know if he'll do it.
Here is Tom Cotton today, U.S. Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas. Listen to what he had to say about the power and authority of the president of the United States. Here we go.
Thank you. Before I get to matters of bipartisan concern on things like shipbuilding and munitions, I'm compelled to respond to the unhinged partisan rants by Senator Kaine and Senator Blumenthal about the riots in Los Angeles. I heard a lot of complaints about the use of the National Guard or the Marine Corps to defend federal property. Not surprisingly, a lot of attacks on Donald Trump. I don't think I heard condemnation of rioters and looters and arsonists and revolutionary anarchists that are burning down parts of Los Angeles. So let's put it in context. What's happening in Los Angeles? For 4 years under Joe Biden, we had a slow motion invasion of this country by millions of migrants, to include murderers, rapists, gang members. It was celebrated. The American people spoke very clearly last year. They elected Donald Trump and a Republican Congress to secure the border, to enforce our immigration laws, and to deport violent, illegal aliens. That's exactly what our brave immigration authorities started doing on Friday. You have illegal aliens that were rounded up in Los Angeles that had committed heinous, violent crimes. Are we simply supposed to overlook them because they're in a democratic city or a democratic state? You can sexually assault children as an illegal alien, but if you're standing outside a Home Depot as a day laborer, immigration authorities are not supposed to arrest you and remove you from the streets to protect innocent civilians. And then what happened? Again, anarchists, revolutionaries, left-wing street militias started attacking law enforcement with bricks and cement and frozen water bottles, spitting in their faces, or much worse, setting cars on fire, looting buildings, setting buildings on fire. Under these conditions, of course, we should always want the local police to be the first line of authority, and they usually can restore order. In Los Angeles, they could not. How do we know? The Los Angeles Police Department chief told us that his forces were overwhelmed, even as he kept them on all after their shift. The next line of defense against such civil disorder is the National Guard. You would expect a responsible governor, when one of his city's police forces are overwhelmed, to call out the National Guard. But the incompetent, An ideological governor of California refused to do so. So President Trump had to act. He has clear legal authority to federalize the Guard when necessary to protect innocent life and property, and especially federal officers and federal property. That's exactly what he did. Just like, for instance, in my state in 1957, when the racist Democratic governor tried to use the National Guard to prevent the desegregation of Little Rock Central High School. And President Eisenhower said, I don't think so, and federalized the Guard to ensure the desegregation of Little Rock Central. And what did the governor of California do? Rather than recognize the error of his ways and cooperate and try to restore order in California, he began grandstanding.
All right. Now, I like Tom Cotton in a lot of ways. I don't want to see us go to war. He seems to be a guy who likes to push the idea of war sometimes. So I don't
all the time.
I don't want to go with him on that. But I have to agree with what he's saying right here. How about you?
Yes, I do. This was celebrated. It wasn't just celebrated by the Democrats. The Democrats did this intentionally and strategically to flood our nation with 30 million people. They're traitors. They committed treason against America. And this needs to be stopped. And Donald Trump needs to get control of this. Donald Trump is at a constitutional crisis. He has got to take the reins of the Constitution and exert his executive powers, damn the judicial branch, and just move forward, because the judicial branch is compromised. And the precedent that's been set in our country by Lincoln, by Jackson, and on have already done what needs to be done. Donald Trump needs to step up and make this happen. Look, this is bigger than just illegal aliens waving flags, Mexican flags in LA. This is coordinated. This is funded. And I want your audience to know, too, that your money, your tax dollars are funding the NGOs that are providing the bricks and the cinder blocks. It's already been proven. I love this one website, or excuse me, one X poster, what is it, Data Republican? Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's incredible. She just did a deep dive last night and showed that one NGO received $24 million last year from the federal government, and they are the main organizers of this LA riots. It's unbelievable. How are they delivering pallets of bricks onto the streets of LA and nobody has any pictures or videos of the vehicle that did it and the people that did it? Do you know how hard it is to physically move pallets of bricks? You have to have an 18-wheel worth of flatbed. You have to have a forklift to move it off. So, I mean, it's coordinated. It's not going to be just like drive by and throw litter out your car. They're laying pallets of bricks across the streets of LA, and nobody says a damn thing. No one has any pictures. No one has any investigative skills. It's unbelievable. This is a failure. A failure.
Look, yep. She shows Art Build, Saturday, June 7th. And look what she shows. It's sponsored by Party for Socialism and Liberation.
Mm-hmm. Well, they share the American values that we all share. And this scumbag billionaire right there, what's his first name? Neville, I believe. Yeah. Unbelievable. Neville Singham, a Chinese Communist Party sympathizer, billionaire. Yep.
He lives in Shanghai?
We have billionaires funding these NGOs. However, I want the audience to understand the NGOs are being heavily, and the majority of their money is coming from the federal government, the United States federal government, through USAID.
By the way, look at this. Look at this. Graham and Rubio wrote to the U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, but many of these groups have increased their activism in the wake of Hamas's October 7, 2023 brutal terrorist attack on Israel. The groups have not only disrupted Senate proceedings, but have engaged in violent anti-Semitic riots in many cities across the United States, end quote. The senators continued, quote, these reports suggest that Mr. Singham has expanded his network to include not only far-left pro-CCP entities, but also radical anti-Semitic entities. One such organization is Shut It Down for Palestine, an entity established in October of 2023. According to the network Contagion Research Institute, conveners or organizers operating under the SID4P umbrella are members of Singham's donor portfolio. These organizations include the People's Forum, Answer Coalition, International People's Assembly, Al-Wada, New York, National Students for Justice in Palestine, Palestinian Youth Movement, and Palestinian American Community Center, New Jersey. Some of these groups have ties to the U.S. designated foreign terrorist organizations such as Popular Front of the Liberation of Palestine. Moreover, one of SID4P's endorsers, I never heard of that, is also an entity known as Samidon, which according to some open sources reporting is a front for the People's Front Liberation of Palestine. Okay, well, this is very consistent with Trevor Loudon last night, also telling us we have funding, we have a Maoist-aligned worldview group, Freedom Road Socialist Organization. So now you've got your merging of that red-green axis we've been telling you about. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with J.J. Carroll, his website. This is treason.com. This is treason.com. Remember, we're able to push all this out to you free of charge, where it could be behind a paywall, but nope, going up free of charge. You can help make it possible. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. We'll be right back.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house. Very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, you know, I know you and Brannon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private.
Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com. We're not changing courses now. We are who we are. We're committed to the truth that we are committed to. Worldview Tube is a broadcast network that I started in 2006, but it's based on my 35 years as an author and speaker and commentator. Worldview Tube is here to defend the truth of a Christian worldview. And we believe we can apply it to all areas of life, like law, science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, major issues.
At worldviewtube.com, we provide news from around the globe that isn't typically covered by mainstream media. Visit worldviewtube.com to watch our experts and analysts discuss all your favorite topics on our 24/7 live stream. Explore our extensive collection of unfiltered and uncensored content from 35 years of production. Go to worldviewtube.com today. Also find us on all of these major platforms and download our Worldview Tube mobile app.
And welcome back. Glad you're with us. Kash Patel is, well, he's talking about a record seize, apparently, I guess enough drugs to kill 50 million Americans, he says, has been seized. Well, that's good, but it's just a start. FBI Director Kash Patel held record drug bust. Drug seized could have killed nearly 50 million. There you go. Take a look at this. Representative Anna Paulina Luna, thanks to investigative work of Data Republican House Oversight, will issue a formal document request to Neville Singham regarding his funding of a communist group linked to the LA riots and the CCP. If he refuses to appear, he will be subpoenaed, and if he ignores that, he will be referred to the DOJ for prosecution. So again, this is, as Trevor Loudon was saying last night, we have enemies, foreign and domestic, helping fund this. Now the question is, how far will it go? I had on Michael Yon today, and we talked about this being a multi-year war inside the U.S. I asked him, is this a group trying to spark civil war in America, or is this part of World War III playing out in America? Is it civil war or part of World War III, or is it part of both? Is the chaos to create a division in the country, a civil war or civil disruptions, part of the strategy of our enemies for World War III? I think it is a mixture. I think social unrest, whether they're trying to pit a civil war, whatever you want to call it, pitting Americans against Americans, creating chaos, burning down cities, I think it's part of the World War III strategy. We've talked here a long time, for many years, about gray terror. Gray terror is where largely communist groups will go into a country and start attacking critical infrastructure before they go to war. How many of our food processing plants have been destroyed over the last few years? How many trains have been derailed? How many times have we seen cell towers in huge swaths of the country go down? Is all of this part of gray terror? Is this part of gray terror? And the timing of it is quite interesting because we had 8 years of Obama, 4 years of Biden, and all of this, of course, was preparing the battlefield. I don't know who's here, but I will say this. If you go to worldviewreport.com, our daily aggregated news site, look at this. Worldviewreport.com, your daily aggregated news site where I put up new articles all the time. Here's an article. Why are cops quitting? And what to do about it? I mentioned this on radio today. This guy says veteran law enforcement officer Michael Letts is sounding the alarm on a national crisis. America's police officers are leaving the profession in record numbers, and those who remain are more vulnerable and less supported than ever. With over 32 years of experience in local, state, and federal law enforcement, Letts has witnessed firsthand the decline in morale and resources across police departments nationwide. When President Biden took office, there were approximately 1.4 million sworn-in officers in the U.S. Today, that number has plummeted to 700,000. Well, if I do my math right, 1.4 million divided in half is 700,000. So we've lost half our police. Well, I'll tell you right now, we already know that experts are telling us that if police departments cannot get these problems under control, they're going to spread. And how much can our military do? Now think about this. If you're going to invade Taiwan or put a blockade up around Taiwan, why would you not go ahead and create so much chaos in America, whose police numbers are now half of what they were 4.5 years ago? The police can't handle it. The police are overrun. You now got to bring in your National Guard, maybe some more of your military. That's right. Go ahead and get our military and our police and officials so distracted. This is a great opportunity for then the enemies of America to do whatever it is they want to do in America or outside America and to other countries that may be some of our friends. Seems like to me this is setting up for something bigger. We'll get to that later in the program. Joining me again is J.J. Carroll. He's on each and every night here on Worldview 2, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. J.J., what do you make of what I just said? Half the cops cut in half in about 4.5 years. Wow. So how could the cops stop these things when they don't have the numbers, which brings in the National Guard, maybe more military, which, again, we got to be careful with posse comitatus and military being used against the American people. But I guess none of you use the Insurrection Acts. But get us all distracted, and that makes China free to do what they want with Taiwan, where about 90% of our chips come from for pumping water and our grid and communications and our military and so much. We're not thinking about this, most Americans, from a military strategic standpoint, are they?
No, and you look at, I've come out with a number of 660,000, which is roughly about 700,000, what he's saying, officers. Now, when you strip away the East and West Coast, and you take away at least 250,000 of those officers, the rest of America has 400,000 officers. Then you start doing shift work, days off, court, training. You may have 100,000 officers on duty at any given time during the day for the whole country.
But then what about the ones that aren't even physically capable to be cops? I'm sorry, but have you seen some of these guys?
Yeah, so so everybody's not 6'3", 230 pounds, ready to rock and roll, been fighting and working out and doing all their stuff. No. You have obese people that their gun belts are so big, I don't even know how they order them. Their uniforms don't fit. It's grotesque.
Have you seen some of them in LA running down the sidewalk? I pointed one out the other day to Logan. I said, look at that poor guy. He's gonna die. He's gonna have a heart attack. But it was almost comical watching him run how big he was. I'm like, that dude shouldn't be out there.
Well, it's just like in the military, you're not even getting replacement. I mean, you can't recruit them. And then you make a great point, and we need to talk about this for a minute. When we have this type of crisis, you throw police in there. There's not enough, so now you bring in National Guard. They don't have the same radios. They don't have the same rules of engagement. They don't have the same command structure. They don't have the same verbal commands. Even if they had the shared radios, they don't share the same 10 codes. This is a disaster waiting to happen. So this idea that I could just backfill with National Guard, well, hold on a second. National Guard doesn't really know how to arrest people. Police officers, no matter, we're trained in riot control, but we don't do riot control. We don't work with we're not part of a team that is specialized for riot control. And how do I know this is all falling apart? Well, when you have riot teams, no one's supposed to break your ranks. You have people walking in and out of the lines and ranks of National Guard and police. It's insane what we have become as a law enforcement nation. We don't have enough law enforcement officers. And why would you join the law enforcement department? Look at this. This is grotesque. This is grotesque.
This is one guy takes on 3 officers and gets away.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you saw my broadcast last night with Trevor Loudon, but if you didn't, it's at worldviewtube.com. And I guess clips of it today are going viral. At one point, one of the clips, Logan said, was getting 500 new views every 2 minutes. 500 new views every 2 minutes. By the way, our podcasts are now in the top 1% of all podcast downloads in America. Okay? So we're growing. Praise the Lord. Thanks for that. Appreciate everybody. So if you haven't seen it, go to worldviewtube.com. Last night, I brought out this grid, JJ. This is from a 2016 manual put out by the military, called Unconventional Warfare. We covered this over 5 years ago. We brought it back last night. And it is the various levels of preparation for revolutionary cadres and of preparation of revolutionary cadres and of masses for revolution. One of them, JJ, is to demoralize the police. To demoralize the police and demoralize the military.
Well, they did that.
Here it is. Increased agitation, unrest, and dissatisfaction, infiltration of administration, police and military, national organizations, and slowdowns and strikes. I'm going to try to find the one where it's demoralize them, but it's in here. It's in this list. I'll find it in a minute. But it's to demoralize them. And you see them doing that, do you not?
Well, they've already demoralized the police. The police is called the Ferguson effect. Police will not show up. They will not do their job the way it's supposed to be. Why? Because the people they're servicing hate them. They're trying to kill them. And if not, they're trying to throw them in jail. You can't recruit and find them. Border Patrol agents, we had 21,000 at one time. We're at around 14 and change. We're down almost a third of our workforce. LAPD is down thousands. New York PD is down thousands. We are swimming in a cesspool and a swamp of disaster. I want the American people to understand you have no hope for a police officer to come help you and stop a crime against you. That's fantasy land. That's Hollywood. You're lucky if they can show up and take a report for you. Where does this lead us in America? It leads us to tyranny. It leads us to chaos, and we're living it right now. Like I said, Brannon, let's say 10% of those dots from nokings.org go on fire and they go live and there's riots. Who's gonna protect us during those riots? The answer is nobody. Right now in LAPD, where's all of their manpower concentrated? Probably within a couple city blocks. So that means the rest of the city is wide open, just wide open. So our government, just make sure this, I need to drill this home. Our government is funding in the tunes of tens of millions of dollars the NGOs that are funding all of the anarchists that are doing this to our country. Our own government is funding our demise. And Donald Trump has not shut it down yet, and I don't know why.
Well,
Why hasn't he closed all the NGOs?
And Michael Yon is asking, why hasn't he dismantled the United Nations and kicked it out of the U.S. when the UN, of course, is a hotbed for the Islamist and the Marxist? And the UN was the one working with Biden's DHS, we're told, funneling the illegals up here through the Darien Gap, giving them money cards to live. So the United Nations, I want you to confirm, the United Nations was helping to funnel the illegal invaders into the U.S. True or false?
That's true. They used the IOM, of course, and they used the plethora of religious organizations, NGOs, to move 30 million people to the border. And then our government funded DHS, who then funneled the money and laundered it through FEMA to give to all Catholic Charities, Jewish Family Services. So you have two prongs. You have an international organization called the UN, was funded by our federal government, who funded all the top level United Nations, IOM, who gave money to NGOs, and then our FEMA laundered the money and gave all to the religious organization and NGOs to move the women, children into America.
Wow. Yep. I found it. Look at this. It's toward the top. Look at this one, right below the blue line. I'm going to see if I don't know if you can highlight it. No, whole thing highlights. Look at that one right below the negotiations with government representatives. That one right there where the arrow is. Okay. Intense sapping of morale of government, administration, police, and military. Okay. Sap the morale of the police. Well, they've done that. Half of the American police have quit in the last 4.5 years. Now, if you go down toward the bottom, you see more. Creation of atmosphere of wider discontent through propaganda, lies, and political and psychological effort, discrediting government, police, and military authorities. So you see that a lot of this is what's going on right now, right?
Yeah.
And Logan, can you show the picture of the one dude whooping 3 cops? Show that video again. Now, does that give credibility to the cops or take away credibility?
Listen, Brannon, I swear to you, that scenario is what me and my partners dreamed about. That's our wet dream, was some guy thinking he can punch us and then we would have destroyed his world. His world would have ended right there. He would have been begging us. But now they think they can hit police. Well, why not? Those 3 people easily could lose a collective 200 pounds. Has anybody worked out? Look at those men. He hits a woman. He hits the guy in the back of the head, and cop is now they can't run.
He's not all that. I mean, he has to.
He's a fat slob.
He has to try to pull his pants up while running.
He's a fat slob. I would take that guy down within at least 3 seconds. It'd be over with, and he'd be crying. The cuffs are too tight. But I'd be like, okay, fat, so lose some weight, and the cuffs won't be as tight. Now get in the back of the car and shut up, because I don't care about you. But because we have DEI, look at that female. You think that female right there completed any of the metrics to become an LAPD officer? Are you serious? Are you kidding me? And this is what happens, Brandon. The moment you cannot hire people, what do you have to do? It's just like any other business. You got to lower the standards, lower the standards. I
have police officers in my community that have told me of people that they have had to spend hours training, send them through the police academy. Local government pays for it because they need bodies, and they'll pay for them to go to the police academy. They get them out of the police academy, and they bring them into the force, and they've got
remedial training.
Yes, and they got to train them more. And they take them to the firing squad, and this gal, is shooting into the dirt. She's not hitting the target. She's hitting into the dirt in front of the target. Now, any of us that have got handgun permits and whatnot have likely gone through the training, and you've got to be able to hit the target. And you got to be able to hit the target so many times out of so many times, right?
Yep.
And this is private civilians. And they got a gal in a uniform, and my friend was on the firing range, and his job was to try to bring her up to help her.
Score up. Yep. Her score up. Yep.
Or guess what was going to happen? They're going to have to let her go. And the city will have lost all the money of putting her through the academy and getting her onto the street. And they had to let her go because they couldn't get her to hit the target. She kept hitting in front of the target, hitting.
Oh, God. Brandon, you're playing these videos.
One of my buddies told me that if you ever want to know the truth, here it is. When it comes to most of your cops, run and zigzag, and you will likely get away because they will not be able to hit you. They are so poor at marksmanship. If you run and zigzag, they won't be able to hit you because they're so poor. This is a fellow police detective talking about the police in his community in the Mid-South.
I'm so disgusted watching these videos, Brannon. I'm so disgusted at looking at cops that don't know how to do their job. They're just fat. They're worthless. And you know why I hate them? Like, I hate them with a passion. Like, I hate them as much as I hate a liberal. You know why I hate them so much? Is because they are so gutless and so pathetic and ineffective that and I've had these discussions with people that I arrested where they fought me. And I said, why would you fight me? Dude, look at me compared to you. Why would you? He goes, because the last guy that arrested me, I punched him and I ran away, and I figured you'd be the same.
Wow.
That's why I'm so angry. That's why men in law enforcement like myself despise these type of cops, because we have to fight 10 times harder because you.
Did we just lose him?
Years, thousands of arrests. I never had that happen. Never.
So let's talk about that number again. The cops, according to law enforcement today, from Joe Biden's day when he came in to now, we've lost over 700,000. And of that, a lot of them are in the courts. They're school resource officers. They're paper pushers, whatever. And then you add the ones that are actually on the street. And then you add take out the ones that aren't physically fit. So we're left with a very small cadre of officers that could actually defend our communities. And you know what? The timing could not be more perfect for the enemies of America, foreign and domestic.
Well, could it be any better for a foreign enemy to come into America? What's going on with our military? Our military has been at war. Then you talk to Colonel McGregor, and he tells you that all of our munitions are down, our tanks are down, everything has been lost. We have morale issues. Look, this is the best time to attack America right now.
You know, if I was a single guy, I could just say, well, it's too bad. But I'm not single. I have a wife. I have children. I have a son-in-law. I have a grandchild. And then I have thousands, millions of people in my audience. Some of them have been listening to me for 20, 30 years. I know them well. I know their names when I see them, and I think about them often. You know, a lot of us are very emotionally invested in this country and in the people. So when you see this, it frightens me. We'll be right back. July 6, 2005. This is Tom Harper. Man figures plankton stopped his rare cancer. We got more of a response from this from our viewers than anything else you and I have ever discussed.
Tom Harper, 20 years ago, he had mesothelioma, deadly lung cancer, was given weeks to live, and he just intuitively started to eat the phytoplankton out of his fish tanks because he fed the phytoplankton to his shellfish. He was a shellfish farmer. And when he went in for the surgery, the surgeon came out of the operating room and told his family, I have not ever seen anything like it. The cancer is benign, and Tom Harper lived for years. He retired in Hawaii. We're not making any claim.
Here he is in his own words.
Started on a daily routine of just taking a bit of paste, putting it in my mouth, and wash it down with a drink of water. Within about 10 to 15 days, here I am, less pain in my back. I knew that something was going on, so I just kept eating half a teaspoon of this paste a day. I was booked to go for surgery in Victoria where they were going to do what they call a TULP treatment. They went in there to have a look, saw something they never seen before, took 11 sites, sent them away for biopsy. I got the news back. Everything was benign. They were just did not know what to make of it. Everything was absolutely clean. And I've tried dieting all my life because I'm a diabetic. If it's a coincidence or not, I don't know. My blood sugar started dropping. My weight started falling off. Here I am, no longer requiring insulin, and I was taking 88 units a day of insulin. I eat just about what I want in moderation, and I have no elevated sugar levels, and I feel fabulous.
People, you hear the word cancer and they want you to be instilled with fear. Cancer is nothing but a profound failure of the immune system. And what happened with Tom Harper is the phytoplankton is microscopic. It's God's microscopic food. And the Gadatiana is the most nutritionally comprehensive strain phytoplankton in the world. David Hunter studied phytoplankton for 20 years because he worked for Tom Harper and he was there in person and witnessed Tom's recovery. It's about getting pure nutrition inside your cells. And what happens, your body balances again or goes back to homeostasis. And when your body is pH balanced or in homeostasis, disease can't grow. It is literally microscopic, pure single cell plant food with protein and omega-3 fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids, with amino acids and vitamins and minerals. One scoop a day. There's 90 billion plant cells in here just for everyday nutrition and energy and, cognitive support, because this is God's pure nutrition.
Go to melissahousegpa.com today. Discover the science and learn more about the wonderful benefits of Gadatana phytoplankton. That's melissahousegpa.com. melissahousegpa.com.
All right. I know you've got something else scheduled here, so we're going to have to let you go. But President Trump apparently has told the folks at Fort Bragg the Department of Justice is investigating who's financing the riots in Los Angeles. I'm going to play some video clips. Some members of Congress are saying that Maxine Waters and others, that those were all peaceful protests in L.A. So, we're like I said before the break, and then I'll let you go. You and I have family, and we care about our audience and our family and our friends and our country. And I'm very concerned for my country right now. Closing comment.
I'm very concerned too. And I think because Donald Trump is being attacked on all fronts, that we need to support him. And how do we support him? By just being out there and talking to each other and supporting him in law enforcement. Listen, your little town, your little city, you think is exempt. You think you're okay in Birmingham, Alabama? You think you're okay in Reno, Nevada, or Rapid City, South Dakota? Get ready. Get ready. Look at that map. They're already funding. You have Walton, Christy Walton of Walmart. She is funding this. We're talking billions and billions and billions of dollars, plus tens of millions from our own government trying to kill us. We are at war for the soul of the United States of America. Brannon, I believe that. I say that on my show, Truth with J.J. Carroll, on your platform every single night. We are in a war for the soul of America. I believe that. And what does that look like from our end? It means that we have to fight. And if you want something you love, you have to fight for it. It's just the way it is. It's the world we live in. And we need to be prepared.
And a lot of this is information warfare, which means we have to show Americans, what it's all about, who's behind it, who's doing it, how they're doing it. Because, again, a lot of Americans just don't get it. They don't understand this huge existential threat facing the country. This is treason.com. This is treason.com. That's his website. Each and every night he's on, 5 p.m. Central. Oh, is it jjcarroll.com?
Yeah, JJ, it can either go to JJ Carroll, but you get the movie This is Treason, but jjcarroll.com is my new website that covers everything, has all my episodes of worldviewtube.com. So,
okay, JJ Carroll, make sure you spell the last name Carrell, 2 R's and 2 L's. 5 p.m. Central, 6 Eastern, every night, worldviewtube.com. JJ, I know you got a bolt. Thank you for being here.
No, thanks always, Brandon. Take care.
You too, my friend. Folks, again, trying to bring you news and analysis and understanding, reason, logic, and context, right? You appreciate what we're doing? We need your support. Would you please go right now to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. All right? We got a lot more to do tonight. We're going to get right to it. But folks, there are ways you can support us and your health at the same time. You heard about one while ago. Gadatana, melissahousegpa.com. I drink it every day. I give half a scoop to Dolly every day. 5 clinical trials behind it. You just saw that. Another way, of course, is Bella Grace, the elixir I take each and every day, loaded with 3 powerful ingredients, 80 clinical trials behind that? Collagen, with the peptides cut short so your body actually absorbs it. It's got astaxanthin that crosses the brain-blood barrier to take on the free radicals, and cat's claw that takes on inflammation. Swish for life, that's Numi. That's loaded with glutathione. Glutathione is a naturally occurring molecule that helps detox your cells. Toxins everywhere, as we know. Food, air, soil, everywhere. You want to detox your cells. Some studies show glutathione may actually remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's and dementia. Now, I also would urge you to go to worldviewtalk.com. Worldviewtalk.com. With all that's going on in the world, you might want to get yourself a solar generator. Should these knuckleheads, the anarchists, the communists, the Islamists go after the power grid, or the cyber attacking, as the general of Edwards Air Force Base is saying? We've got the clip. We've played it. May 7th, he said, of this year. China decides to go against Taiwan. One of the first things they're going to do is put down the power grid. They're already in our grid. Then you got these anarchists and other people that could start hitting power substations. You're going to want to get ready. You're going to be on your own. It's going to be you, your neighbors, and your friends. That's it. No one is going to come help you. They will not be able to come help you. The police are going to be overrun. They're not going to be able to handle it in most situations. Be prepared. Worldviewtalk.com is where you get the solar generators. And then you can even get a bulletproof backpack. You can get the satellite phones. So should the cell towers go down, I have a satellite phone. Should the cell towers go down, I can at least call some of my family members. I have some family members that have satellite phones, right? We have each other's numbers. Cell towers go down, I'm at least going to be able to check in on some of my family members. How about you? Worldview, by the way, the satellite phones are free if you sign up for one of their very reasonable monthly plans. You can also get the bivvies. These bivvies, you can then text through your cell phone. Even though cell towers are down, you can still use your cell phone to compose the text. You just then send it through this bivvy, which sends it to a satellite. So at least you could text your kids that got your grandbabies or your spouse who's traveling. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. Joining me now is David Pine, former military man, and he's also the president of the EMP task force. David, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you for being with us.
Hey, Brannon, thanks so much for having me on.
David, thank you for being here with us. David, we just had on J.J. Carroll, former border, he was high up in the border, brigade. And we're talking about what's going on in Los Angeles. We're talking about this map here, nokings.org. They're having, protests all over the country, according to their promotions, Saturday, June 14th. We'll be covering it. I don't really want to come on the air Saturday. I normally spend Saturday and Sunday studying to prepare for my Bible study Sunday night, as I'm teaching the book of Revelation. But we're off this weekend because of Father's Day weekend. So I was going to spend the weekend with my family. I may be spending the weekend with my family in the studio, having to come into the studio to cover what's happening in the country, because this thing seems to be speeding up. I want to get your take on what's happening in the country, but I also want to play what we're seeing right now in Peoria, Arizona. We can show scenes from all over the country, but this is already spread.
Video from my vantage point, I saw several people dressed in all black open a black umbrella, and a Peoria police officer grabbed that person. They detained them on the ground, and other police officers came in to try to break up this melee and really try to keep the peace. They showed remarkable restraint during this entire ordeal. I saw multiple people spitting on the officers. They were cussing at them in ways I truly have never seen before. The officers did take one person away. They handcuffed that person, loaded them into a patrol car, and drove them away. We also want to take you to some other video about really where this all began. We shot video from 67th Avenue and Peoria. This was on the back side of a Walmart. This is where undercover detectives or federal agents were getting ready. They were gearing up to conduct this search warrant execution. Those undercover officers officers made their way to that home here just a couple of blocks away to serve that search warrant. And that's when a large group of protesters began to gather, and really it all escalated from there.
Now look at the person in the keffiyeh. Two of them right there were the keffiyehs. These are your, pro-Palestinian terrorist neckerchiefs or whatever. Yasser Arafat used to wear them all the time. David, I want your take on LA, on this, the riots coming. But I want to couch it all in your military background, as well as your expertise in the power grid, whether it's a physical attack to a multiple power substations or the grid itself. Because we were going over something the last couple nights, something we actually covered 5 years ago, that'll be right up your alley. Because you're former Army, right? You're former Army.
Yep, former U.S. Army combat arms officer.
Okay, so I want to show you this. I don't know if you've ever seen this. Unconventional warfare. Okay? And this was put out by the Army, United States Army Special Operation, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Now, like I said, we went through this in great detail. Anyway, anyone can find it online. 5 years ago. We went through it a lot last night, and a little bit tonight. But I want to point out that one of the goals here is not only a psychological operation, but the whole thing is about preparation for revolutionary cadres of masses of revolution, masses for revolution. But it also talks about demoralizing the police, taking away the morale of the police. But it's also about discrediting the police, discrediting the military. We mentioned tonight with J.J. Carroll that we have an article from Law Enforcement Today, and it's linked over at worldviewreport.com, our daily aggregated news site. And they're reporting, David, that when Biden came into office, we had 1.4 million police. Today, we have 700,000. So if you were China and you wanted to go after Taiwan and do a blockade, this is when the commander of Edwards Air Force Base said on May 7th in his speech we've played here, when they do that, probably the first thing you're going to do is put down our power grid. Well, I'm like, David Pine's been saying that. Maybe he's watching the show. I don't know. But think about it now, David. We just found out we have half the police that we did 4.5 years ago when Biden came into office. There are so many things that make this the right time for China, for Islamic terrorist groups, terror cells, the 100,000 plus CCP military age males that are in the U.S. Everything is now in place. Now you realize that all of the 2020 demoralization of police, causing them to leave, get off the job, everything they've done has been slow and steady, preparing. And now, with the country having half the cops we used to have, and so many other issues that are now in place, our country, I'm afraid, is at a very weak point to be greatly overcome. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, these riots in LA, really, I used to live in LA, actually. I went to law school down there. I grew up in Ventura, just an hour north of there.
I had no idea you went to law school, or maybe I forgot. I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm a licensed attorney. I haven't practiced for...
I don't think I knew that.
About 10 years.
Wow.
But yeah, that's no longer my main area of expertise. National security is, and yeah, this is like an insurrection. It's really surreal. My sister lives in Pasadena. She's been reporting on it, and she said that they block freeways, they can see the fires, and that's not even that close to where the action's taking place. But there's been an emergency mobilization of every LAPD officer, just to try to counter this. And they've got their hands full. The police chief said they're overwhelmed. This is a highly organized, riot situation. And I wasn't even aware of that map. I mean, heck, that
you
map,
aren't? You're not?
That map showed areas of, I think it looks like southern Canada as well, but primarily, yeah, obviously all over the U.S., primarily in the East Coast region.
That's what they're planning to do Saturday.
Yeah.
This is called nokings.org, upcoming calls and training. And spread the word, they say, June 14th. On June 14th, Flag Day, President Trump wants hangs in the streets and a made-for-TV display of dominance for his birthday. No, that's not true. It just happened to be his birthday. It's the anniversary, I think, of the Army. A 250th anniversary of the Army. A spectacle meant to look like strength, but real power isn't staged in Washington. It rises up everywhere else. Okay, so it's a day of defiance. Now, I don't know how bad it's going to get, but if indications of what we're watching, this is it. So this is the first time you're seeing this. So I know it's on the cuff. We don't rehearse the show. Give me your thoughts on what you're seeing right now for Saturday.
Well, this is in direct response of against President Trump. Obviously, he's planning a historic military parade on the 250th anniversary of the United States Army, which I proudly served. It's also Flag Day. It's also his birthday. So this is really, another. It's an uprising directed specifically against the Trump administration, but also the United States of America. I just had to laugh when President Biden, would give his inaugural addresses and talk about how right-wing extremists were the most, dangerous, violent extremists were the greatest threat to U.S. domestic security. When in fact the exact opposite is the case. I mean, there's been thousands of far-left riots, led by, as in this instance, by Antifa, by Black Lives Matter. By organized with the help of the Revolutionary Communist Party here in the United States. I believe it's Chinese-backed and also Communist Venezuelan-backed. And their objective is the overthrow of the United States government and then converting us to a Castro-like communist regime. So this is not mostly peaceful protesters, as we hear the far-left extremists like Kamala Harris saying. This is a very dangerous threat, not only to the safety and security of citizens in the local areas, but the country at large.
Here's some of the folks in Washington in the last 24 hours. Here we go.
But let me be clear. Congressional Democrats stand in full solidarity with the residents of Los Angeles, with our immigrant sisters and brothers, and with the peaceful protesters who dare to speak out and who will support every effort to oppose this president's abuse of power.
Wow. Did you ever think we'd see it to this point? Or has it taken longer to get to this point than you thought?
Well, I think what we're seeing is very predictable. It started with the Black Lives Matter George Floyd riots in May of 2020. I observed that here locally in Salt Lake City, and they were overturning police cars, lighting them on fire. I mean, there was thousands of incidents. Of course, nationwide, we had 2,000 police officers killed or wounded, and 24 killed. It's all organized by the far left. Kamala Harris famously said she would encourage everyone to contribute to the bail funds of the far left Democrat rioters, and it's frightening, really. But we have so many threats, some of which are more dangerous, that it's not really unexpected.
Here's another one, Maxine Waters. Here she goes.
The protests, and even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head. And so when martial law is called, what are you going to say? I missed the point. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence.
Okay, now they're defining violence as someone being killed. So there was no violence. Nobody was killed. So they've redefined violence now, right? They redefine what a woman is. They're now redefining what violence is. And these people are demented. But here you go. Now, President Trump, he spoke today at Fort Bragg, and here's what President Trump had to say.
Los Angeles has gone from being one of the cleanest, safest, and most beautiful cities on earth to being a trash heap with entire neighborhoods under the control of transnational gangs and criminal networks. It's horrible what's happened so quickly. As the entire world can now see, uncontrolled migration leads to chaos, dysfunction, and disorder. And you know what? They have it in Europe, too. It's happening in many of the countries of Europe. They don't like it when I say it, but I'll say it loudly and clearly. They better do something before it's too late. Very simply, we will liberate Los Angeles and make it free, clean, and safe again. It's happening very quickly.
David?
Yeah, I mean, we have 50 million non-citizens here in the United States, of which an estimated 25 million are legal immigrants and 25 million illegal immigrants. And I mean, heaven knows, how many of those are domestic terrorists or terror cells, or obviously PLA special forces. So the potential for subversion, insurrection, and various and similar threats is really high. But the one thing that struck me the most about these riots that I haven't seen before is the Mexican flags that were being hoisted during the riots. I wrote a book I started writing a book along with the Pulitzer Prize winning author Bob Skimman, a former U.S. military major from the Korean War service. And basically the book talked about how all four Southwestern states succeeded from the Union, essentially proclaiming a Latin American republic, which was independent from the United States, and they invited Chinese troops to come protect them from U.S. Army forces trying to bring them back into the Union. And that's, it seemed far-fetched at the time. And I had incidents in the book where illegal immigrants, a fifth column essentially helped the Chinese troops take over U.S. naval bases. And I think that was the reason why, 8 publishers that had previously published Bob Skimman's books refused, and we ended up canceling the project. But, that kind of, what seemed unreal and completely fictional back then seems a little more realistic now.
Let's see here. Let's see if this is... it's going to probably be in Spanish. Here we go. Let's try it. President of Mexico. Here we go.
Porque de ser necesario nos vamos a movilizar.
Yeah, it's in Spanish. Apparently, I don't know. Mexico's president-elect just said, this was some time ago. No, actually, it wasn't, I don't think. If necessary, we'll mobilize. We don't want taxes on remittances from our fellow countrymen from the U.S. to Mexico. All right. So she's also, tonight, my worldview report, I have her quoted as saying, quote, Mexicans living in the United States are good men and women, honest people who went to the United States to seek a better life for themselves and to support their families. They're not criminals. They're good men and women, end quote. I gave that earlier, but I want you to respond, because don't you believe that basically the Mexican government, this is a narco state? Their biggest trading partner is the CCP. They're running drugs like crazy with the fentanyl and the precursor chemicals coming from Mexico. I'm very concerned about the military-grade weaponry that the cartels have, that they openly show off. Maybe, Logan, you can find some of the videos of them showing off their military-grade weaponry, the drug cartels there in Mexico. It's pretty scary stuff. I'm concerned about the attacks on our country coming not only from Canada, but also from Mexico. What kind of tabletop exercises have you been involved in? Any briefings, reports in regards to the threat to our country and critical infrastructure from cartels, terrorist cells, whatnot, coming over, drones coming over from Mexico?
Yeah, absolutely. President Reagan talked about the need, how we can't have a country without borders. And of course, we know that 16 million illegal immigrants that crossed into the U.S. Just during the 4 years of the Biden administration, 4 million a year, including 100,000, Chinese age, military age Chinese men, likely PLA soldiers, that could be used to conduct these kind of attacks. And I would fully expect, just as I wrote it in my never published book, Red Star Rising Over America, that these Mexican gangs and Antifa and Black Lives Matter and the Revolutionary Communist Party of the United States, they're all going to join forces and collaborate in these kinds of terror strikes and sabotage operations in order to overthrow the United States government.
And this is some of the drug cartels with their military weaponry, which
Yeah, and it looks like they've got what appears to be Mexican flags in their uniform, the Mexican tricolor. So, it's like that they're almost parading. This is almost like a military parade of cartel gangs, complete with armored vehicles and machine guns, where they're purporting to be the armed forces of Mexico.
How are you? I don't want to get too personal, but how are you and your family personally preparing, particularly now that you've just seen that map? I mean, I don't think we've even hit the official start of summer on the calendar. So we still got a long, hot summer to go. How are you personally preparing when you see all these things with all the knowledge you have?
Well, we live in a semi-rural area. We're kind of in a suburb area, about 30 minutes from Salt Lake, downtown Salt Lake. So we are close to the action. What would be action? Obviously, Salt Lake was one of the black dots on the map, and it's a liberal hotbed. I mean, they obviously have gay pride parades. They have riots and protests from time to time with far leftists. So I don't feel like, what I'm saying is I don't feel like we're in a highly threatened area in terms of riots and crime. But certainly we're within range of what I would expect Chinese troops to invade in the event the grid goes down if the U.S. were to defend Taiwan militarily. So
it sounds like you're when you say China would invade, you're still believing in kind of a Red Dawn scenario where you actually have physical Chinese troops invading the country.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think there's any question that that's the Chinese plan. Essentially, the deployment of those 100,000 Chinese troops are to defeat us and pave the way. There's essentially a vanguard for the main Chinese invasion army that I would expect to land along the West Coast in the event we lose the grid and our country's government collapses and we go into kind of an anarchic situation. But that's, just to clarify, I don't believe that's their main plan. I still think that they want to have peace with us. They hope to be able to annex Taiwan peacefully. And if so, I think we can avert a Red Dawn situation. But I can pretty much guarantee that if Trump does act to defend Taiwan from a Chinese invasion or blockade, that's the scenario we'll be facing, and there's not going to be much we can do about it.
I guess there was music playing telling me I had to go to break, which I did not hear. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. More with David Pine of dpine.substack.com. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHowse.bg.com.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate under-sink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity. All from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
And welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Tubes, Brannon Howse Live. And again, we appreciate your support. WorldviewTube.com/sponsors to find out about all of our sponsors. WorldviewTube.com/sponsors. As the broadcast rolls on, so do the water cups and the coffee cups. Sometimes I got like 5 of these up here, folks. So I got another one brought to me during that break. So we'll just set these over here. And we'll keep rolling. David Pine joins me, dpine.substack.com, dpine.substack.com. David, here is an interaction in the Oval Office today. Take a listen to this, please. I think this is Kristi Noem, DHS Secretary.
So in 2020, I was a governor of a neighboring state to Tim Walz and watched him let his city burn. And the president and I have talked about this in the past, and he was not going to let that happen to another city and to another community where a bad governor made a bad decision. So Claudia Sheinbaum came out and encouraged more protests in LA, and I condemn her for that. She should not be encouraging violent protests that are going on. If people are allowed to peacefully protest, but the violence that we're seeing is not acceptable, and it's not going to happen in America. This president is standing up for the average American who wants to walk their child to school every day safely, run their small business, and provide for their families. That's the action that he's taken. He has every authority under the Constitution to send these National Guard under Title X into these communities and make sure that operations go smoothly, that law enforcement officers are protected, that they can continue to do their work without fear of being injured or killed or disrespected, and that they can go home to their families at night. So I'm incredibly proud of the president for activating the National Guard and for sending in these Marines, because these Marines are specifically trained to meet the need that we have on the ground in LA right now. And Governor Newsom has done a disservice to the state of California for many years. The people there should never elect him into a leadership position ever again.
David, remind our audience, in the military, in the Army, what was your title and what in your mission statement?
So I was a tank platoon leader. I was only in for 3 years. I didn't serve in combat. And then after serving with M1A1 Abrams tanks, I worked at the U.S. Army headquarters staff for 2.5 years. I served as an international programs manager in charge of U.S. Army armaments R&D cooperation with much of the world. I'll just say the Americas, Africa, Middle East, former Soviet Union, and Eastern Europe. And when travel as a member of international delegations to negotiate R&D arms cooperation agreements.
Okay, so with all that as your background, where do you come down with sending in the National Guard, the Marines? Because I played video from 1992 of George H. Bush doing it. Played the video last night, Oval Office speech, sending them after Rodney King riots or during those riots. Where do you come down on this? And where do you come down on if he has to pull the Insurrection Act? Where do you come down on all this?
Well, National Guard obviously is routinely activated in these types of situations. It's kind of the first step when there's riots on this level, and as the police chief of the LAPD has stated, that they're overwhelmed in terms of providing for public safety and restoring order. But I don't recall a time in my lifetime where the Marines were sent with the Guard to help restore order. That to me is very novel, and I'd be surprised if it's been done before. But you're saying it's that Bush did it as well?
He called up 1,500 Marines to be on standby during the 1992 Rodney King riots.
Okay. So yeah, there was a clear precedent which Trump followed. And I was there, by the way. I was there for the riots.
Really?
Yeah, back in '92. That was the first year I started law school. Actually, I think it was just prior. So I think I was maybe an hour drive away. But I remember that quite vividly, and it was a scary time. I mean, churches. Some of the churches that I belonged to were kind of under guard or closed down temporarily, and lots of fires and violent riots and really kind of a similar situation. But I think this one's even more dangerous because the other one was mainly just local criminal elements. And this one is really, it's not just criminals, it's cartels, it's, domestic terrorist groups, as I mentioned, Black Lives Matter, principally Antifa. One of the trademarks of Antifa is that they wear all black, and they have some kind of bandana, or mask, not necessarily the kind of Middle Eastern version that you showed.
The keffiyehs, yeah. We also had Trevor Loudon on last night, and we've been showing research from other folks, including a congresswoman of one of these billionaires, tied back to the CCP and some of these groups. They claim is funding some of this. We also have Freedom Road Socialist Organization, which is Trevor's been reporting on for years as a CCP type group. That's an interesting screenshot tonight, Logan. Are we supposed to? Oh, that's not live. All right. Let me go to a video of the governor of Oregon. Here's a video clip on the governor of Oregon. Listen to this, please.
We are not in a situation where I believe he can come over the top of me as governor to control the Oregon National Guard. And as I said, if there are any issues related to activity that relating to protesting that gets out of hand, local law enforcement can handle it.
All right. So the governor of Oregon is basically saying, we're not in the situation where Trump can come over the top of me as governor to control the Oregon National Guard. There's even articles about it tonight. Trump has no right to deploy Oregon National Guard against protesters in Portland. So are we headed for a constitutional crisis with some of these people? Or are they trying to set up a constitutional crisis? Or are they trying to set up a trap for President Trump to then take the House back in the midterms and impeach him? What do you think is going on with all? Are these just lawless Marxist Democrats or incompetent?
It really does seem that these far left Democrat leaders like Newsom, Karen Bass, and others are in league with the far left organizers. Again, Revolutionary Communist Party, Black Lives Matter, Antifa. I don't know what level, but a lot of these are paid rioters. They import in from other places. Probably California, they don't need to import them because there's so many left-wing extremists there that are, especially illegal immigrants. Many of which have been identified, not just from Mexico, but many from Central America as well. I do think that part of the impetus here is to provoke a federal response from the Trump administration, which includes bloodshed against rioters that they will then claim, was a peaceful protest, and Trump over-responded and caused a lot of people to get killed, and they'll blame it all on Trump for trying to restore order, and they'll try to use that as some kind of rallying cry in the midterms. And we know that there's a very real threat. I mean, I would say there's a 90% chance the Democrats retake the House, probably 50 plus, maybe 55% retake the Senate. If you look at the polls right now, Republicans are still riding high, but we're still very far away from in November 2026, and it's very rare that the party in power in the White House gains seat or even holds seats during the midterms, especially the second midterm.
We're also following some other news that we'll look at getting to here a little bit later tonight. But let me ask you about overseas. Before we let you go tonight, what's going on overseas with Russia and Ukraine?
Well, as we discussed, of course, the Russia-Ukraine peace talks are going nowhere. I mean, they're talking past each other. The meetings they've had are very brief. It's essentially, they read their positions. They cite them as non-negotiable ultimatums. And then they go home, and then they try to use talking points mainly on the Ukrainian side because back in the old days Soviets excelled at propaganda, and nowadays the Western liberal forces are far more skilled at propaganda and media manipulation than the Russians are. The Chinese are still pretty good at it, but the Russians have really lost their edge. So we excel in the information warfare spectrum. But unfortunately, it's not us. It's not patriots in America first folks that are excelling in information warfare. It's the far left and the globalists. So Unfortunately, Trump is he's not doing what he promised to do. He's not made any serious attempt, I would say, to negotiate an end to the war. He's presented essentially an ultimatum to the Russians, saying a 22-point peace plan, which is, I would argue, is more favorable to Ukraine than Russia. And I predicted that this Kellogg Plan peace proposal way back in November, when it was first issued in a previous iteration, would result in failure. And I assumed that President Trump would get impatient with Kellogg and tell him to make some concessions, major concessions to the Russians to get the deal through. And sadly, my prediction was proven incorrect. But we're going nowhere fast, is what I'm saying. And as we discussed with Operation Spiderweb, which was this massive Ukrainian drone attack against Russian, one leg of the Russian nuclear triad, their bomber forces, which the Ukrainians claim took out over, 1/3 destroyed or disabled their strategic nuclear bombers. That was a war plan that was first designed by the British government. I recently learned. So there is definitely Western involvement in that attack. And just imagine if we found out the Russians were involved in helping such an attack from Canada against all of our, U.S. nuclear bomber bases. We would retaliate massively, perhaps with nuclear weapons.
Yeah, absolutely. David, take a look at this. Earthquake prediction. They said that a 3.4 earthquake hit Los Angeles today, area west of Los Angeles. They're claiming a major earthquake is likely in northwest Los Angeles during the next week. Wow, I don't know. But wouldn't that just be something to have an earthquake hit while all this is going on? I mean, again, this is why, we're living in such dangerous times when you start to demoralize a country. When you demoralize a country and then you have a natural disaster and you think that they're looting stores and looting Apple stores, they're looting pharmacies or whatever they're doing. Now, let the whole system collapse with a nice, good-sized earthquake. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you can't put into a movie and a script anyone would believe.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, my parents still live in California, not far from where I grew up, and they have rolling brownouts. They had to buy solar panels and some kind of battery backup system to avoid the frequent blackouts, which were really caused by the Green New Deal on the Democrat side. And so I lived through a number of earthquakes, including during law school in California, and they can be unnerving. It was nothing too big. I wasn't too close to the center, but it was kind of scary. But you're absolutely right. I mean, earthquake could take down the power. No, not the grid, of course, but it could take the local power out for a couple of weeks, potentially.
But can you imagine the damage these people could do that are now organized during an earthquake? Can you imagine the damage, how they could take advantage of that?
Yeah, the lawlessness would be insane. The looting, everything. I mean, the cars, of course, could potentially run out of gas, but initially, it would be pretty crazy and very unsafe. And we might even see, tens of thousands, if not more, refugees trying to escape on foot. Once the gas run out, assuming it went on that long.
Yeah, well, let's pray for our country. All right, closing comment on Iran. Where are we at with Iran?
Well, the Trump administration, I've heard differing reports. The latest report I heard is that the Trump administration's latest offer is actually, somewhat conciliatory to Iran, and it's kind of meeting them halfway, where they would be able to continue to enrich on some minimal level. That's definitely something I think Iran would be willing to accept. They've already offered it in a 5-point plan, I think, in late April. Other reports are suggesting that the Trump administration is uncompromising. He did make some comments today that I didn't fully hear. I thought I heard that maybe he said that we were actually farther away from a peace deal than we were last week. So that's troubling. But as long as as long as those B-2 bombers aren't at Diego Garcia, I'm not super worried that it's imminent. But we know, of course, that the pernicious neocon influence within the White House is pretty heavy, especially on the Middle Eastern side where they're mostly dominant with Marco Rubio and others.
And we are hearing tonight that a federal judge has denied Gavin Newsom's request to remove the National Guard and the Marines from Los Angeles riot. So there you go. dpine.substack.com, dpine.substack.com. And you also find him on X. Just type in David Pine, spell his last name P-Y-N-E. It'll pop right up. You can follow him. David, let me know what else you think about all these riots potentially this weekend. We'll keep your phone on. We may be on the air Saturday, but thank you for all you do.
Thanks, Brannon. Thanks for all you do as well.
Thank you. David Pine checking in dpine.substack.com. We're going to take a quick break, come back with another great guest. Where are we at with polling? What do Americans think about sending the National Guard and the Marines into Los Angeles? We'll get an update from Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen tonight. Rasmussen. Hey, don't forget, get your free business cards, worldviewstore.com. One of our frequent and loyal listeners told Melissa today in LA, she's in LA, she gave one of our Worldview Tube cards to an LA police officer, said, hey, listen to this network. So hopefully some of the LAPD guys are listening. Be safe, my friends. Worldviewstore.com to get those and pass those out. We'll be right back.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house. Very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, you know, I know you and Brannon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private. So you people out there who are sitting on your hands when Wes and I are sending you these requests and Brannon and you are talking to you, you better get active because you're going to pay me $4,000 an ounce the end of the year. Trust me.
You better get your. I highly suggest you get your free packet. You don't have to do anything. It's free, no obligation. Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com, or just text Wes and give him your name and address and say, I want the free packet. That's all you got to do. 602-558-8585, 602-558-8585.
Looking for a trusted source to understand today's world through a Christian worldview? Worldview Tube is built on the 35 years of Worldview books, columns, research, and high-profile interviews of Brannon Howse. Want to know more about Worldview Tube, its founder, history, team, and mission? Visit worldviewtube.com/about. That's worldviewtube.com/about. Worldview Tube is your source for understanding the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
And welcome back. Glad you're with us. Before we go to Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen, what do people think about Donald Trump sending in the National Guard, the Marines? What do they think about that? Where does he think the Republican Party is going? I had never heard of it. I'd never heard of this. I bet you a lot of my audience don't know this term. Globo-homo. Have you ever heard of that? Globo, G-L-O-B-O, homo. Globo-homo. Never heard of it until a while ago during the break. Logan's laughing. Why are you laughing, Logan? Do you know what globo-homo is? You know what homo is? Well, of course. Homo sapien, right? No. But you've never heard of globo-homo either, right? Van, why are you laughing? What is so funny? They think it's just funny to hear the old man say globo-homo? All right, well, it's just like Van who cannot see me out water skiing. Or what was that? Or out hunting. There's certain things that these guys, they always see me pretty much in a suit and tie. And they just cannot see me doing certain things. And they can't see me saying certain things. Apparently, I've done a very good job with my branding, even with the guys in the control room who are around me all the time, which shows you they're not used to hearing me say things like globo-homo? I didn't even know what it was until a while ago. But get up to speed, people. We're all trying. I guess this is a thing. I guess it's a thing, and I think you need to know about it. But before we go there with Mark Mitchell, I wish I could hear what they're saying in the control room. I have a phone out here. You know, by the way, some of you were wondering, what's the phone on his desk? I had to get me a phone so I could talk to these boys during the break, so I have to shout and lose my voice. But anyway, here we go. I drink it every day. It is MelissaHouseGPA.com, MelissaHouseGPA.com. This is phytoplankton. One little teeny scoop is equivalent of 90 billion plant cells. It's about to go into my bloodstream. You think the Incredible Hulk drank this green stuff, Logan? Woo, you can feel the energy. 5 clinical trials on this, by the way. Phytoplankton. Remember the guy that had it, that came up with this idea? Gave him a terminal diagnosis. Started eating this, lived another 10 years. I'm just telling you, that's a true story. It's all over the place. You saw the video with him talking about himself and his daughter. Dolly gets half a scoop. A lady the other day told my wife that she started giving this to her dog. Her dog's skin problem went away. And she's saying her dog's teeth are a lot whiter. Well, I know that because I've been telling my wife. I was doing some research on this, and apparently phytoplankton eats the bacteria off your dog's teeth and keep it whiter. And Dolly just turned a year old. Her teeth are as white as the day I brought her home. I think it has something to do with the phytoplankton. Get a subscription to that, folks. You do not want to run out of that. I drink that every day, along with my Bella Grace and my Gatatana, my Numi. Swish my Gatatana. All right, here we go. Here we go. The timeline is so weird, says Mark Mitchell. One of the country's biggest globo-homo shareholders trying to start race riots to counter a Republican with the highest black approval in decades. The Osbury Park one is even planned for the very intersection the fire started in 1970. Really? All right, we got to start. Let's break this down. Mark Mitchell, he joins us tonight from Rasmussen. He's the lead pollster at Rasmussen. And he's also going to be one of the keynote speakers at our fall conference come up October 3rd and 4th, right here outside the Mid-South. Here in the Mid-South, outside of Memphis, in beautiful Collierville, Tennessee, rated one of the most safest communities in the whole state of Tennessee. Full details at worldviewstore.com. Get your tickets. Only 350 seats available in the theater. Worldviewstore.com. He's going to be a keynote speaker. Woo, well, we have plenty to talk about and do the polling on what's coming up in 2026 this fall with Mark in person. All right, Mark, you teach me new things all the time. I'd never heard of globo-homo. What is globo-homo? What is that?
I mean, it's a real thing, although I guess it's a slang pejorative. I guess I only really know because I got my MBA from Wharton and spent time in corporate America. But I asked Grok to explain it to everybody succinctly because it's kind of like pornography. It's hard to define, but you know it when you see it. And a lot of people aren't tuned in on this, but we're ruled in many ways. And one of them is by capitalism. Globo-homo is a slang term often used pejoratively to describe a perceived globalized, homogenized cultural and political ideology. It suggests a world where distinct national, cultural, and traditional identities are eroded by a uniform consumerist and progressive worldview, driven by Western elites, corporations, and big media.
Okay,
it's the sanitized fake world that we all live in. It's clown world.
It's clown world. It's DEI world. It's cultural Marxism, right?
Yep, all for dollars.
And we have to all be the same all over the globe.
That's exactly right.
And that's what the GLOB stands for, is globe? Like global?
Well, I think it's global homogenization was probably the root, but 4chan or somebody came up with this term drawing from, I guess, Dodgeball, a comedy, and some other stuff. Yeah, it's definitely internet culture pushback to our maximum rent-seeking corporate overlords, essentially.
Wow, you got the lines tonight. Man. Well, can you give
I
that
think
to
a lot
me
about
again?
this.
Can you give? Yeah, apparently you do. Can you give that to me again? Comes from our what overlords?
I don't even know what I said.
That was
Brandon,
really
what did
good.
I just say?
Our maximum renters overlords. Or
Max. Yeah, the rentier class, the people who are extracting everything from us. We're entering such a brave new world because here's the thing, even if all of our societal problems get corrected, if somehow young people can start forming families again because we enter a period of economic abundance, like those are really, really big ifs. But we haven't even begun to consider the ramifications of things like AI and ubiquitous technology and what that's going to do long-term to humans. I was just walking through the grocery store when you invited me on your show. And one of the things that occurred to me is like, probably back in the 50s and 60s, you knew your checkout person. You went to the store and they set a reasonable price because they owned the store and they liked you and they wanted you to come back. And now it's some corporate overlord that creates a pricing algorithm that basically maximizes the amount of money they extract from your wallet in a very impersonal way. The company's untouchable because it gets maximum leverage and is probably publicly listed and can get all that retail shareholder money. And you don't even have a checkout person. And even if you did, that person doesn't want to be there. And so it's not going to be a personal interaction. It's just horrifying. Like, what a reversal.
You're a real ray of sunshine tonight.
Yeah. I'm a cynic sometimes. It's,
no,
sometimes I get in these moods.
Let me just say, that's the kettle calling the pot black. So don't worry. You and I are two peas in a pod. That's very interesting. I went to a big box store over the weekend, and my wife got a bunch of stuff for the yard at one of these big box stores. And they have no checkout clerks. They used to. They're all gone. And so you get to take the wireless thing and go beep, beep, beep. And, I was a kid when all that came out. And, it was always the lady pushing the big old buttons, ka-ching, boom, 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 ka-ching, as the cash register would run as she's pushing all those big buttons. Mm-hmm. The kids have no idea what I'm talking about. But in the process, it went to the scanner, beep. And as a kid, I remember thinking that would be a really cool job. I'd like to have that job for a while. There's a lot of things I wanted to do. I wanted to be a truck driver. I got to do that. I owned 2 motor coaches, not at the same time. One for 14 years, wore it out, had to get another one. So I got to drive a 45-foot motor coach all over the country. So it's kind of like being a truck driver to some degree. I wanted to be a talk show host and do news and be a news guy. I got to do that. Wanted to be an author. There's a lot of things I wanted to do as a kid I got to do. Well, you know what? Now I get to do what I also wanted to do as a kid is be a checkout clerk. Because every time I now go to a store, there is no checkout clerk. So I got to get the wireless gun the other night and go beep, 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 and check everything out. And you're right. I mean, there's a guy standing there watching us like this going,
well, here's the problem.
There was no interaction with anybody.
No, every one of these things is maximally perverse if you think about it long term. And so you don't have a human connection at the store anymore. And a lot of people will say, oh, that's fine. I like checking out. I can do it faster. Okay, well, an AI is watching you and it's going to stop you every 30 seconds if it thinks that you put something extra in the bag. And this is the core of globo-homo.
And it did.
Because
it did. Yeah. It stopped in the middle and started telling me, make sure you did this and that. I'm like, oh, shut up,
Yeah. So you're being watched by 50 cameras and processed through machine learning stuff and blah, 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 while some guy walks out and they're not going to stop him because loss prevention has figured out that it's better to just let those people go. Don't want the lawsuit from that guy getting hurt. That's what globo-homo is. And it's playing out like everywhere. I mean, this is all just part of our big future, I guess. And it's a whole different aspect. It's not the transhumanism. It's just the human condition. And that's important for public opinion. But think about all those Zoomers that went to work in a corporate setting post-COVID. And now they're like, oh, sweet. I don't have to go into the office. This is great. I can sit at home in my pajamas. Well, you're not assimilating into corporate culture. There is no corporate culture at your company anymore. You're not making friends. You're living in your basement. And oh, by the way, the Eye of Sauron is watching every one of your keystrokes. And these Zoomers are like, okay, yeah, that's fine. This is totally normal. We're not going to be able to run companies like this, and we're going to have a whole generation of people that don't know how to communicate in a corporate setting. It's really wild, like where all of this is going, and nobody's thinking about it.
So it's a global. What's the word? A
globo-homo.
That means global
homogenization.
Okay, there you go. All right, crazy.
Maybe we can.
Now, you should write a whole article on this. All right, now the next, we would publish it. The next part of your tweet, the Asbury Park one, is even.
Oh, we're still unpacking this tweet.
Yeah, is even,
well. So yeah, I mean, this is
the very
like,
intersection the fire started in 1970. Tell me what that's about.
I mean, the public figured out what the George Floyd riots were about a month after it happened. And they also got a very good lesson over the 4 years of Biden at identifying fake stuff. Let's just say fake stuff. And so the idea that these protests with people burning cars, like somehow that Americans are uniformly going to overlook all the imagery of Mexican drug lords burning cars and then somehow focus on whatever specific optic the mainstream narrative wants to push is just absolutely Looneyville. It's not going to work. And yet here we are going through essentially the CIA color revolution steps again. Like this stuff is all super planned. And what happened is, okay, LA kicked off. The Democrats come in to support it. And let's keep in mind that if you ask Americans how important is it to deport criminal illegal aliens, the answer is 80%. And so Gavin Newsom is supporting basically a 17% position here. Now you have one of the massive Walmart heiresses, a company with a lot of financial ties to China, one of the key movers of the global homogenization movement. I mean, we're talking about the CEO of Walmart, Doug McMillon, as part of the Business Roundtable, probably has a lot of ties to China as well, certainly has a lot of ties to all this ESG garbage, right? She's setting up this No Kings protest through this group Indivisible that has all of these super staged paid for events coming up this weekend. And there's one of them literally 500 yards from where I live in the summer. And it's, oh, by the way, the same exact intersection where the black community burned Springwood Avenue down 1970, a month after the Hard Hat riots. And the local police had to put it down with birdshot, 46 gunshot wounds. So yeah, it's kind of wild that they think that they're somehow going to recapture this period of political unrest in the 70s when, like we've talked about, the polling is minting right direction records left and right. They're not going to get a race riot when Donald Trump's got a 43% black approval rating. It's just not going to happen, right?
Well, here, in fact,
maybe localized, but
in fact, I have a poll somewhere in here. Here we go. A whopping margin of 20 plus points. Americans approve of President Trump sending the National Guard to the LA riots, 59% to 39%. Insider Advantage poll says. This includes 56% of independents and 37% of Democrats.
Good. Yeah, that's towering. Good job. That's a good poll. Makes sense. I mean, we have the same kind of margins, militarization on the southern border, supporting mass deportations. Like, imagine that. Donald Trump ran on this platform, won in a mandate, and people they're just not going to change their minds. And so you look at Gavin Newsom and listen, I'll tell you, he wasn't polling that great to begin with, but this is not going to do him any favors. He was trailing Donald Trump by 12 points last year, back when Joe Biden was only trailing Trump by, 6 or 7. So he does quite a few points worse than Biden. And now he's not trying to gain voters. He's trying to lose them.
So he can kiss his 2028 presidential aspirations goodbye.
Yeah, I think so, because he's going to have all these montages of him talking about protecting democracy with a whole lot of interstitial clips about basically, being a secessionist. He's talking about withdrawing taxpayer funding from the government for trying to enforce federal immigration laws. It's wild. Like, people overwhelmingly want illegal aliens gone. Yeah, and so why would they do this? You could say, well, there's a couple of ways I can conjecture and try to explain it. One of them is that they're not worried about winning back power yet. This is about a power struggle within the party. And so maybe it is like whoever out crazies the other one is going to rise to the top. You can tell that AOC is kind of quiet right now. Mm-hmm. So that might be one of them. The other is foreign adversaries, I guess. Like, give me others that make sense. I don't know, but I'm just saying from a public opinion perspective, this is like retarded.
Yeah. Well, we come back. We're going to get to more of this, including these things are spreading to more and more cities, and we're not even to Saturday yet, June 14th. I want to ask Mark about his recent trip to Washington, D.C. He went up on Capitol Hill. What did he think? Is Congress, the House, or Republicans in big trouble? What did he pick up on while he was there? Was he encouraged or was he discouraged? Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Reports, Rasmussen, will be with us again right after this break. Don't go away. We appreciate all your support, folks. We keep it going each and every night because you, well, support these advertisers who, when you buy from them, then support us. And only when you buy. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHowseBG.com. And welcome back. Glad you're with us here on Brannon Howse Live each and every night at worldviewtube.com. Joining me now is Mark Mitchell with Rasmussen. And Mark, give your, where people can find you. Give your digits or your numbers or your letters or whatever we call it these days, your social media addresses.
Score poll on Twitter. That's where all of our content is. I put out some vivid takes on Twitter as well at Honest Pollster. And we also stream usually 3 nights a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on YouTube at Rasmussen_poll. I believe we're also on Rumble. You can check us out on Getter, and we stream on Twitter as well.
Are we not getting those shows over here to carry at Worldview Tube after the fact?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, sure.
We'd carry them, wouldn't we, Logan?
Okay.
We'd pull them if he gives us permission. We pull them from YouTube, Logan said, if you give us permission.
Yeah.
We'd love to carry your stuff. You got great stuff.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see here. What else do I want to play? I guess this is spreading. This was spreading. I guess this was earlier today. I got, if I can find it real quick. Let's see here. Okay, this is in Seattle. Here's Seattle. And one of these chicks is holding I guess that's a chick. Who knows in these days? She's holding a sign that says, "Make the U.S. ungovernable."
I mean, it basically is, right?
Yeah, it is ungovernable.
I mean, that's basically where we're at.
And what's with all the umbrellas? Can someone tell me that? Is that like a Mary Poppins thing, or I don't know. What is that about? The black umbrellas? Do you know, Mark?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is the taco people, right? The
really?
Trump chickens out again, or whatever that slogan was. They're really not coming up with very good stuff. They really not good at messaging about this stuff at all.
Wow,
which is funny because all that's coming out of this is like, I just see videos of Marines taking down Antifa people and like folks on Twitter fist pumping about it. So it's
not good.
The optics coming out of this are not good.
And then we've got, if you guys pull that down, I'll go to another one. We've got another one, I guess, today in front of the ICE building. in New York. I guess there was more. I guess this is in hundreds gathered to protest ICE. This is in New York City. Here we go. Look at all those.
New York City, make some noise!
Stop the deportations now. All those pre-printed signs, Mark.
Well, what's funny is if you think back to what happened in the first couple of months of Trump.
Whoa.
What'd you see?
Whoa. Who did you guys just see? Hello? Right there in the headdress. That looks like Linda Saussure, does it not, Logan? You don't know who Linda Saussure is. Come on. Yeah, it does. Go look up Linda Saussure, please. Tell me that's not her. That looks like her. Do you know who Linda Saussure is, Mark?
Yeah. Coming back to the Trump one term.
Yeah, Muslim Brotherhood chick. It does look like. Put a picture of her up, Logan, side by side. I think that's Linda Saussure. Muslim Brotherhood's Linda Saussure. Isn't she the one that called for? She's in my documentary Sabotage, Logan. If you go to the introduction of Sabotage, I think she's the one in there calling for jihad on the White House. You want to put a picture side by side? I think that's Linda. Hey, look, the old man caught that quick tonight, didn't he, Logan? That's Linda Saussure there. I think so.
She's one of these people who looks like left Twitter. So I'm checking her out on Blue Sky, and the search is failing. I'm getting all kinds of errors. I don't think things are going well over there.
I think that's Linda. You want to put that in a search engine, Logan? See if Linda Saussure, what she's got on her feed tonight? That's important because we've been tracking this chick for a while. Liberation, what's her sign say? Liberation, not deportation. Liberation, not deportation. All right, I interrupted you with the breaking news of what looks to be Linda Saussure, but we'll confirm or try to at least. Stop. She is speaking at it? Do we have any video where she spoke at it? Next speaker up is Linda Saussure, because that was so early in the day. Logan, are you guys impressed? Nobody's giving me props for the eagle eye of catching Linda Saussure, that massive crowd. The old man caught it that quick, Logan. Come on. I mean, look at this. And I saw her, boom, Linda. That's Muslim Brotherhood, Mark. She's a Muslim Brotherhood gal.
Yeah.
This is a red-green axis. You know that, right? The red being the Marxists, the green being the Islamists. This is a red-green axis.
Isn't it funny that the people they're supporting have red and green on their flags?
Okay, so where do you think all this is going, Mark? Well, let me go to this. You went to Capitol Hill. What did you think last week after you went to Capitol Hill?
Well, about this, I'll just say that if you think back a couple of months, and if you were following Reddit, you'll know that they tried to get organic protests off the ground. They had a couple. Remember, there was like hands off, and before that, there was something else. Before that, there was something else. None of those worked, and these are taking off. So clearly, it's planned and funded. And I've already seen people like Mike Benz talk about all of the USAID and CIA cutouts that are operating this stuff, including Karen Bass, who apparently has ties to some of these groups as well in the history. And so I guess what they're showing is that this is just part of their plan. And obviously it's not a political winner. And so I think it's becoming more and more patently clear what they're trying to do, which is be accelerationists, try and force some response from Trump. And at the end of the day, if this gets screwed up into something like California threatening to secede, I think the only person that really benefits from that is China or some of our other foreign adversaries. So I think it's very, very on the table to ask these questions about the why behind what we're seeing going on right now, because it's not political reality. As for DC, I talk pretty harshly about DC. Not a fan. I don't try to go there. And I've likened it to a festering fens of theft and an unholy alliance between corporations and our kleptocrats. And again, not been kind. Like they're robbing the treasury and they're stealing from my kids' futures, and it's occupied territory. And it was nice to go down there. John Fawcett, the Great America Show, he took over for Lou Dobbs, set up some interviews, and I got to talk to people on Capitol Hill. Not what I expected. City looks cleaner than it has in years. The sun was out, everybody was happy. And I walked around Capitol Hill and I basically saw two things. I saw your bog standard white 20-something, Georgetown intern, and I saw a bunch of lobbyists, and that was who's walking the halls of Congress. They were just doing their thing. There wasn't really any urgency to it. Like I talked to these congressmen, and there just seemed to be like, well, yeah, we're trying to represent our district. We, are trying to support Trump, and here's what we're talking about or focusing on. Jim Jordan's got his subpoenas that he does, right? And looking back on it, there's absolutely no methodology. There's no focus. There's no strategic organization in order to try to get voters what they want. And what's weird is that Democrats don't have this problem at all, whether it's through maximum compromise, mutually assured blackmail destruction. I don't know. But for whatever reason, the Democrats are laser focused on whatever the Democrat agenda is. The Republicans are just going through the motions. And so the problem is that Trump comes in, he does a good job. I think a lot of people voted for Trump also voted for Republicans because they had no other choice. Democrats, he had a brand advantage going into this, right? People, I think, held their nose to vote for Republicans. And we had the polling. 60% of Republicans say that Republicans in Congress are not delivering on Trump's mandate. That's not a good thing. And so Trump comes in with this level of energy, and everybody is convinced the right direction shoots up, his approval rating stays high. They're convinced he's doing a good job, but they gave Republicans a chance. And what it looks like, and I've heard terms controlled opposition, I don't think that's what it is. I really don't. I think that they are just stuck in a pattern that they've been in for decades, and they have no intention of breaking out. And that is they just do what feels right to them at the time. If a lobbyist comes in and says, well, we really need you to do this. Okay, sure. Their district wants this pork thing in a bill. Okay, sure. And there's no ideology behind it at all. And I've seen this mirrored in the state and local parties. These people generally don't run on anything. And so that's the weird thing, is that Trump created this MAGA brand, this MAGA platform. It's the right issue set now. And it's different because it's a set of grievances of justice that Americans want wrought on the federal government. And Trump came in ready to deliver. The Republicans have not. Unfortunately, it looks like business as usual. And Americans told us that what they wanted is not business as usual.
Which
in DC.
means the Republicans will lose the House in the midterms.
I mean, maybe people will just hold their nose because they have no other choice, because it looks like the Democrats are going to crazy themselves to the bottom. And then there's a whole other question of what black swans might come up, what level of electioneering, what type of hoaxes that they might try to run on the media, although I think that risk is passing. And so that's part of the problem, where it's like, well, if Trump starts deporting all these people, if there's crackdowns on election integrity, maybe one of the bad things is Republicans keep winning, because it's certainly not being reflected in meaningful spending cuts. It's not being reflected in meaningful reform at all. I mean, look at all the stuff Doge talked about. None of that's on the table. So Doge
has been a failure. Is Doge a failure?
A plurality of Americans say yes.
So your polling is showing the plurality. What? How many?
48% say it mostly failed. 40% say mostly succeeded. I think the Republicans, it was only in the 60s, mostly succeeded. And you say, well, maybe it hasn't had a chance yet. But people make up their minds, and these things are sticky. And Doge came in with a 55% favorability rating. And we had numbers where Doge, like we asked if Doge should audit Social Security, and we had numbers almost at 70%. So people liked this idea of accountability in the government. But now, because of the stuff that happened, Elon leaving in a very public way, I don't know why, but Americans mostly think 48-40 that Doge has been a failure and not a success. So that's a very big lost opportunity for Republicans, because I think it was a Republican rug pull operation, quite frankly. I think Republicans had the kind of bill they wanted to pass, and they were willing to throw Trump a little bit of a bone, get some of his stuff in there. But it was really, I bet you the promises that were made going into this bill. And listen, I know they had to work to get the tax cuts through the CBO or whatever, right? Yes. But this is just not, listen, these people were leaving. You know what I noticed most? I walked outside and at 4:30, everybody's going out. It's 80 degrees down there. Everybody's smiling. They go to Bellwether's for a happy hour. I go to Capitol Grill. I see all these people from the administration there. Everybody's just smiling and having a good time. America is not having a good time, and our elected representatives just don't really appear to be breaking a sweat.
So you're saying they all live in a bubble?
Yep. They have no idea what's going on outside of D.C. They think they're doing a good job. They have no idea what people think about them. They're not coming to me. I don't think they're even following me. And even if they were getting my number somehow, the systematic method of reinforcing a political focus in the party doesn't exist. All that exists, I think, is these people who have been there forever, the power brokers like Kevin McCarthy, figuring out how the national dollars get spent to what consultants and blah, blah, blah. I think that's probably the biggest decision-making process that happens within the Republican Party, because it just doesn't seem like this is a really big problem, because MAGA is whatever Trump says it is right now. But the clock is quickly ticking down on Trump, let's just say, right?
So their MAGA is going to go away. Trump represents MAGA. The values will still be there among the people. Trump always said, look, you are the movement. I just represent the movement. But once Trump is gone, there's no one to represent the movement. MAGA falls apart. Is that what you're saying?
The aggressive economic rebalancing to make America work for the majority of Americans is the part of the MAGA platform that I think will be readily jettisoned the second that is politically expedient to pretend that Trump doesn't have any political capital anymore.
So,
I think that's
no reforming the IRS or any of that. We'll all continue to be slaves of the federal government.
Oh, it's so hard to cut. Go back and look at how Romney talks about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. They always talk about entitlement reform, right? It's all about, well, sorry, you're going to have to work just a little bit longer for that promise that we made for you that we knew we weren't able to keep. But the problem is that if you look at, I went back and had Grok run some numbers. I looked at our healthcare spending as a percent of GDP, and it's increased over 5-6 times since 1970 when we made those initial Medicare and Medicaid promises. I think the number I saw was 1.2% of GDP was taxpayer-funded healthcare. That number is at 7.5% right now. It's ballooned. And I went back and I asked Grok, okay, if Medicare and Medicaid had been capped at a certain percentage of GDP at the time those promises were made in the early 60s, it said our federal budget would not be $37 trillion right now. It said 11. Now, I don't know how accurate those numbers are, but it looks to me like healthcare is what has destroyed our republic, because these numbers are just spiraling out of control. And what do we have to show for that? We're ranked number 48 on the list of life expectancies of all the countries in the world. It really has not been money well spent, and it was money spent by the government.
Let me ask you this when we come back from this quick break. Do you believe that there are the good guys up there that realize they're outnumbered, the deep state's running the country, that President Trump doesn't even have full control of everything, and they're so demoralized, and they realize how the game is played with the D's and the R's, that even the good guys are largely just going through the motions and demoralized? I want to ask that of Mark as we get ready to wrap up tonight's show. WorldviewTube.com, Brannon Howse Live. We'll be right back after this break.
True beauty isn't applied. It's nourished from within. Bella Grace Elixir, a luxurious, scientifically crafted blend designed to restore radiance, vitality, and strength at a cellular level. At the heart of Bella Grace Elixir lies cat's claw, a powerful herb from the Amazon known for its ability to control inflammation and protect collagen. With Verisol collagen peptides, it goes beyond the surface stimulating your body's natural collagen production to reduce fine lines, improve skin elasticity, and promote real, visible change. Bella Grace Elixir doesn't stop at collagen. It includes astaxanthin, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, astaxanthin protects your skin from harmful UV rays and environmental stress, while locking in hydration and promoting a radiant, youthful glow. Experience the power of nature with Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Discover the science behind Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Read powerful testimonials from doctors and real customers who've experienced life-changing results, and explore other wellness products from Bella Grace. Bella Grace Elixir is more than just a product. It's a solution. Visit melissahousebg.com today.
Looking for a trusted source to understand today's world through a Christian worldview? WWIII is built on the 35 years of worldview books, columns, research, and high-profile interviews of Brannon Howse. Want to know more about WWIII, its founder, history, team, and mission? Visit worldviewtube.com/about. That's worldviewtube.com/about. WWIII is your source for understanding the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
And welcome back. Glad you're with us. Just a few more minutes here with Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen, and we'll call it a night. President Trump today on how organized these protesters are. He said someone has to be organizing this. It's so professional.
So we have this guy allowing this to happen. Let me tell you, when you watch these agitators break up concrete and hand it out to people as they stood on line to get it, these have to be paid troublemakers.
Mr. President, you appear to say that the governor and the mayor paid them. Do you believe that the governor and the mayor paid the agitators?
No, I don't say the governor and the mayor. I said somebody's paying them, I think. And if they're not, they're just troublemakers. What can I tell you? But I believe somebody's paying them. I mean, I've never seen somebody with a big hammer so professional. Now, they took the bricks away from them. So they say, how do we get in? The military did. How do we get in? And what do we do? They said, I have an idea. Let's break up the concrete. And that's even better than bricks. And that's what happened. Yeah, you just fix
Mark, there you go. There you go. And by the way, this fits with another screenshot. You mentioned it earlier. Here we go. No Kings, June 14th, mobilize, right? And then you get to the bottom, as you said, paid for by Christy Walton. That's of the Walton family, Walmart family, right? That can't be good for MAGA people shopping at Walmart. I bet you start to see a lot of MAGA people not shopping at Walmart anymore for a while.
No, I don't have a lot of hope there. I mean, Walmart's are so pervasive everywhere. But geez, what is it? $500 billion in annual revenue flows through those big, beautiful bricks. And I heard, listen, I worked for Walmart, and I heard at one point in time that 95% of their non-grocery SKUs were, foreign domiciled, like not made in America. And I think the number is probably higher than that, to be honest with you. Obviously, a lot of it coming from China. Big ties there, a lot of money involved. And she's made a ton of money, too. In fact, their stock has done really, really well since COVID. Because remember, all of those local businesses were shut down. The Walmarts were not. You could go and do your little no contact, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And so COVID was a massive globalist tool of wealth concentration. Mm-hmm. And here we are. And now she's trying to upset the person who's trying to upset the status quo.
Stephen Smith. Do you know who Stephen Smith is? Of course you do. I barely do. Huh? Stephen A. Smith?
Oh, Stephen A. Smith. Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't that say Stephen right there? That's how he says it, Stephen? All right. Stephen A. Smith. I barely know who he is, obviously, because I don't follow sports. I think he was with ESPN at one time, right? Oh, he still is. I don't really care one way or the other, to be honest with you. But is he thinking about running for president?
Yeah. I pulled for him. I was the one that showed that he has numbers that are worth running.
All right.
Seriously.
Well, maybe I should.
Yeah, this was.
All right. You want to hear
back in February?
You want to hear what he has to say? Listen to this. Listen to what he has to say. Here we go.
when you think about open borders and illegal immigrants crossing the borders, ultimately you're alluding to it having a detrimental effect on the black community. Is that your way of saying that you felt the left did that to us, that they just disregarded black folks?
Stephen A., they've been giving us the middle finger since I can remember. All the way back from the Ku Klux Klan. They have never supported black people whatsoever. They hoodwinked us into getting us on food stamps and getting us with government assistance, having us to abandon our own success. We had our own bus line. We had our own schools. We had all this stuff. They tricked us into believing that the white man was the cure to our own issues. Okay. They tricked us. And then now look at us, Stephen A. They don't have to bid for our vote. They got our vote hook, line, and sinker. So they're never going to do nothing for us. And when you look at it, they have just secured our vote, and they don't have to do nothing for us. And this is what we've created, Stephen A. We've created an environment where we don't benefit from none of it because the Democrats don't have to work because they know I already got us. The Republicans don't need to work because they can win without us.
I've been saying that.
Black women voted at 90-some% for Democrats. Stephen A., Donald Trump won in a landslide. You give it 2 more election cycles. Illegal aliens and Hispanics are going to be the majority minority. Therefore, black people can vote 100% for Democrats, and they're not going to have any leverage in the political environment. And I'll tell you this, the Democrats, look at their platform. They want women to have abortions. They don't support a marriage. They don't support God and things the way the Republicans do. So what does that do to the inner city black communities or black communities in general? We're not getting married. Baby daddy, baby mama drama out of control. We have an abortion more than anybody else. Obesity is out of control in the black community, which is one of the biggest plagues in the black community and the leading cause of death, which is hypertension and heart disease. What has the Democrats done about it? Nothing. The Republicans with RFK is saying we need to make sure we have better foods. We need to make sure the SNAP program on prioritizing soda to our young people, which a lot of black people are on the SNAP program. That's the difference in policy position.
Wow. What do you make of that, Mark?
A lot of that was very, very, very right. And when I polled on him in February, the numbers were really shocking, very surprising. He is a contender, despite the fact that 45% of people said not sure when we asked what his favorable rating was. So in my opinion, that shows that somebody that comes from outside of the party and talks common sense is going to get a lot of people's attention. He trailed Gavin Newsom, I think it was by only 3 points in a primary matchup. That's pretty incredible. He trailed J.D. Vance only 4 points at the time in a head-to-head. Wow. And again, a lot of caveats about how early it is. And these Democrats, they don't just go away. Like they are still going to exist and vote for Democrats. It's just a question of turnout. And then Kamala Harris, I think he was only down 19, maybe 20 points on her.
When you think about open borders.
Sorry about that. That was me on my end.
Yeah, she had $3 billion of name recognition branding. And she was the camp, like she literally got 70 couple million votes, and he's only down. He's a relatively unknown, media personality, and he does pretty well against her in a primary matchup. So I think he's absolutely right to run because he has something very different to say as a Democrat. But here's the problem. Here's what's going to happen. What kind of happened to RFK is he came out of the gates with a higher Republican favorability than Democrat favorability because he wasn't challenging the Republican Party. He was challenging the Democrat Party. Then he lost the Republican support because he went out there and started talking about taking guns away and stuff like that, right? So then what happened is there was this political Armageddon, essentially, and he got squeezed. His support got all the way down to 1.5 points. So for Stephen A. Smith to be successful, he has to get the party nomination. I don't think the Democrat Party can or will allow him to, which means that they're going to make a super huge target out of him. And what he's saying is going to resonate with a lot of people. So there, what you have is the mainstream media carrying out, being the bag man, like the hatchet man, carrying out a hit on this guy is what's going to happen. And he's probably going to make them look even worse, peel away maybe some black votes, and the Democrat Party is going to put some establishment candidate in his place. And then a lot of people will be like, oh, okay, well, I still have to vote for my Democrat ham sandwich.
So it's up for grabs as to who runs in 2028, both on the Republican and the Democrat side, correct?
Well, there is a power vacuum right now, and we know that Democrat primaries are very unpredictable for sure. So I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out. I think recent history has told us that whatever the establishment wants is going to be the person that rises to the top, but I'm not sure that the establishment knows what it wants yet. I don't think it wants Newsom and AOC. I don't. And I think they know this. I think they're making a calculated move to try and suck up some of the oxygen and get as many supporters as possible. Maybe that gives them power later. I don't know. Or maybe they're just playing the stakes. I don't know. But the establishment Democrat is pretty quiet right now. I don't see a lot of stuff coming out of Hakeem Jeffries, or I guess he's virtue signaling some. Chuck Schumer seems to have completely abdicated. So I don't know that, their positions are not popular on Twitter. And again, Twitter is not real life, but Twitter is where I think the new narratives are formed. And people are openly hostile to all of this virtue signaling stuff that Democrats are doing in a way that I don't think anybody, the rhinos are getting pretty beat up too, to be honest with you. It's almost like Twitter was embraced by MAGA and then it morphed into something else, which is people just truth seeking. And so that's new. It's weird. I'm not sure what the effect is going to be, but it's going to amplify voices like Stephen A. Smith, which is going to make things dangerous for the Democrats. And they're going to have to try their existing tactics in an entirely different media context.
Let me ask you, as we get ready to wrap tonight, do you think that some of the good guys up there on Capitol Hill are just so demoralized? They realize how the game is played now. It's too big. It's like trying to turn the Titanic, and all the odds are against them. The media, the lobbyists, the money, the Republican leadership, and who gets power, because you never really see a lot of the good guys get chairmanships, the real hardcore, real good guys, right? Do you think they just really, a lot of them are just going through the motion, trying to stay reelected? It's not a bad gig. I mean, I guess you could make better money somewhere else, no doubt about that. But it's still not a bad salary, and you get a good government health care, I guess, and not to mention the pension. I think the retirement plan's pretty good. So are some of these people just going through the motion, and they're just up there, rah, 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 make a lot of noise, but nothing's really going to happen. Nothing's going to change. We're going to be done with President Trump, and really nothing will have changed in the country. Is that what I'm hearing?
I guess. I don't even know if Congress was designed for the kind of things that we're trying to do with Congress right now. I mean, 200 years ago, it was farmers and business owners that just showed up, voted on a few things, and came back and spent time with their constituents. Now we're throwing major existential policy decisions at them and putting them up against stakes that they just don't appear to be able to handle, to be honest with you. And what I can tell you is they felt ubiquitously to be overwhelmed, but that they are focusing their efforts on whatever little thing that they can do that makes them feel good about the existence. And that's not good. It's just not good enough.
So the country's not, after 4 years of President Trump, we're likely not to get what the MAGA crowd wanted. But isn't that partly due to the fact the federal government's gotten so big? It was never designed constitutionally to be this big. You could be a farmer, go up there, vote on a few things and go home. The federal government wasn't that involved. Their lives were not dictated by Washington. Their lives were at the state and local level. They were not dictated even that much by their capital. It was at the local level. I mean, it all should be at the local level. But now our state governments have become too big. The federal government is too big. The system, the constitutional framework was not designed to be like this.
Yet it is a human system that can be gamed, and it is being gamed, in my opinion, by the Democrats and not the Republicans. So I asked somebody this question down there, somebody I thought was really smart. I said, what should the Republican position on abortion be? What's the right answer? What should it be? And the person said, well, it should be pro-life. And I said, okay, what's been done in the last 4 years to make the Republican Party more pro-life? The only time I can even think of any abortion messaging coming out of Republicans, the person responded, oh, well, Trump did a pretty good job sidestepping the abortion debate. And then I said, well, that wasn't messaging. Why was it in the news? Well, it was in the news. The Democrats were attacking them over abortion, but Republican supporters of Ron DeSantis were the ones out there making a big hubbub on the internet about this, talking about how Trump wasn't pro-life enough. Now, here's the thing. I can immediately tell that is not trying to change anything. You can't just do that. There is a political reality called the Overton window. It defines what is politically acceptable in the current context. And what I can tell you is that 100% banning of abortion is not anywhere within the Overton window. It is not a political reality. It's not going to happen. So here is the situation. If the Republican Party principle on abortion should be full ban, we can debate whether it should or not. If it's perceived to be by people who are in a position of leadership, what's your plan to shift the Overton window to the right? And what I can tell you is the Democrats have a plan to shift the Overton window to the left. Republicans do not have a plan to shift it back. That takes money, it takes thought, it takes organization, it takes structure, it takes a lot of stuff. Leadership, and none of that is being done at all.
Well, the truth is it is what it is, and we have you on here to talk the truth and tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
So, and again,
well, I don't want to be hopeless. I mean, right. I believe in the fourth turning, which means that essentially systems fail so much that society craves release, craves the pendulum to swing back. And so really what we have here is that the elected leaders can do this, or, the people are representatives, all the federal bureaucrats down there, they can do this, or the people will do it. And it will probably be messier if the people do it.
So are we headed for a civil war? I mean, is all of this that we're seeing in LA and the governor of Oregon saying Trump can't get a hold of my National Guard, and the comments by Gavin will come arrest me, is all of this setting up for a civil war in the country as well as World War III? I think, again, we got foreign and domestic funding all this chaos that will be used by people like China to maybe blockade Taiwan or do other things. But do you think that there's a bigger civil war coming where conservatives are going to say, we want to secede? We want to get out. We want our states to leave. This is a failed experiment. We're tired of being taxed into oblivion for corruption, for people just to line their pockets, for them to give the money to their special interest groups, their family, their friends, the corrupt judges, all the stuff we've seen, send overseas to countries that hate our guts, want us destroyed. Is this the chance for some states to step up and say, you know what, Oregon? You know what, California? You guys can have all that. Good for you. Go. But we're going too. We're out.
We've tested the idea of a national divorce, and it wasn't very popular. I forget the numbers. I think it might have been in the low 30s, but don't quote me on that. But this is a very secessionist stance that Gavin Newsom is taking. He's openly defying federal law, claiming essentially states' rights. And the whole issue is over the representation of humans in Congress. Like, it sounds an awful lot like 1860 when you frame it that way. It just does. And also, as you mentioned, there are all these other forces at play, things behind the scenes, things that a lot of people have made suppositions about, but some of it is obviously true. I think it's fair to almost say that we're in some kind of cold civil war right now. The level of open defiance of the federal government and the calls to abolish federal agencies and that Trump's a dictator. I think that the language and posturing is getting pretty bad. But this is also on top of the fact that somebody's waging fifth generation warfare with us, and we're also engaged in another proxy war for NATO. So there's a lot of forces at play. It's hard to pin them down on any one, but it's, again, a bad situation. And it's through years of institutional rot and decay and capture and corruption. And at some point, the people will revert the system to the mean. It's just a question of what that looks like and when.
The fourth turning. Wow. Follow him on X. There it is, folks. Follow him on X. At Honest Pollster. At Honest Pollster. And of course, also RasmussenReports.com. But again, just follow on X. You'll get so much. At Honest Pollster. He'll also be a keynote speaker for us at our fall Worldview Weekend. Look at that lineup right there. A major lineup. Gordon Chang, Alex Newman, Sidney Powell, Dr. Lana Hadina, Dr. Woods, Chris Martinson, and Mark Mitchell, and myself. We only have seating for 350 people, so you might want to get your tickets while they're still available. WorldviewStore.com, WorldviewStore.com. Mark, as always, thank you for being with us. There is definitely no shortage of things to talk about. Looking forward to your fall presentation as you poll the American people on their worldview and where we're going and what they are their values and their worldview. We'll look forward to that. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. Great to be here. Thanks.
Mark Mitchell checking in tonight. All right, before we go, folks, remember, you help make it all possible. Here we are streaming out a great show tonight. And again, we need your support. Please consider going right here, worldviewtube.com. WorldviewFoundation.com, I should say. WorldviewFoundation.com. WorldviewFoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. Please consider doing so. Tell your family and friends about the broadcast. Won't you tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, True Social? Put out the word about Worldview Tube. 24/7 news. We, by the way, have our health channel. If you go to our main page, you'll find our health channel. And here in the next few hours, we should be adding our history channel. And then pretty soon, we'll be adding our Bible prophecy channel. So, folks, it's going to be pretty huge. All the programming we're bringing to you. And notice, none of it's behind a paywall. All the streams are out there for you. WorldviewFoundation.com helps make it possible. You can also use our phone number if you prefer to call my wife, Melissa. Just call and leave her a voicemail or text her and say, hey, I'd like for you to call me back, Melissa, because I want to make a contribution over the phone. She'll help you do that. WorldviewFoundation.com. Our foundation helps us push out programming for public service, education, and ministry as well. Don't forget, we also have through our foundation our Sunday night church service. Right now, I'm teaching through the book of Revelation. You'll find that on demand if you missed it Sunday night. Right now, it's on demand at worldviewtube.com. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. Another way you can support us is, of course, by going to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. You'll find so many of our sponsors there. Hey, folks, I have no idea what's coming, but you might want to go to worldviewhealthcare.com, get your emergency medical kits, make sure you have your antibiotics and other things on hand, because, again, you go to this kind of situation, you could have disruption of just-in-time inventory, critical infrastructure, power. Have the essentials ready to go, folks, like your emergency medical kits or your Worldview Talk for your solar generators, your satellite phones, and so much more. And again, folks, also, don't forget about going to Worldview Store, your freeze-dried food, your emergency supplies, all of that, okay? All right, thanks for watching. As always, we appreciate your prayers and your support and telling your family and friends about the program. Till next time, I'm Brannon Howse. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education.